good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio, and yeah, it feels like a Monday, but it also feels like a Wednesday. It's a whole, I don't know how to explain it. What I know is the Ravens won. They're 5-2. Life is good. I mean, mostly good, right? Like you'd like it if the defense were a little bit better. You'd like it if they would recover an onside kick for a change. Like that would be a fun thought.
Yeah, winning in the NFL is hard.
It is hard. That is true. It is hard to win on the NFL. It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win.
The Ravens, baby.
It's true. It's hard to win against good teams. And the Ravens did all of those things. It's Femi will join us a little bit later on. He was really negative last night on the. Thanks, everybody who hung out with us for Project Gameday last night, post-game show. We do it every game day all season long. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ, Stetka. Come hang with us. PressBoxOnline.com/gameday immediately following every game day all season. It's all brought to you by BetYard AI, the Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, as well as Easy Pass and 1-800-GAMBLER. Come hang with us for Project Game Day every game day all season. Yeah, Ravens win 41-31. You know that. You were watching. I don't have a lot more to add that we didn't discuss last night. I would encourage you to go back later today and watch that show, listen to that show. I think it's important to two things. I understand, and I think this is where Femi's coming from, and we'll talk to him about it a little bit later on. He'll join us, our buddy Charles McDonald from Yahoo Sports, pride of McDonough. We'll check in. Also, it is a Tuesday, believe it or not, so we will still do Would-You-Rather Wednesday, Waiver-Wire Wednesday.
Would you rather Tuesday?
Right. No, not doing that today. We'll do that with our buddy Joe Serpico, Pressbox Fantasy Football Analyst as well. All that coming up. I understand the thought that, like, hey, what we're viewing the Ravens through is the prism of can they win the Super Bowl? Because this goes back to the way that we thought before the season began. The only thing that mattered this year is, are you finally going to overcome the Chiefs? Are you finally going to at least get back to, if not win, the Super Bowl? That was the only thing that really mattered coming into the year. Coming into the year, none of the regular season stuff was supposed to be relevant at all. Suddenly, it got interesting because of an 0-2 start. But the ship's been righted. We know the Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL. It doesn't really matter if they're number 1, 2, or 3 in power rankings because they don't give banners for that. You don't hold parades for it. The Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL wherever it is that you have them. But the question is, how will it be different this time? And particularly when we talk to Femi about it, he's like, look, man, I just don't think this is good enough for the playoffs. And he's talking specifically about the penalties, some of the lapses, giving the ball away when you should have been icing the game away. All of a sudden, things looking more interesting than they ever needed to look. Not that the Ravens were ever actually in jeopardy, but I get it. It ends up looking like a 10-point game when it should have been at least 3, if not 4-score game, and 7 years ago. I get it. I do. If you're viewing it through the prism of take last night's game and put it in the playoffs, are you definitively winning? Don't know. Because my gut would tell me, that's what I said back to Femi, the offense was so good last night that, like, maybe you really are. Maybe in a world where you want to score more points because you're not pulling guys and you're not, maybe in that world in the playoffs, you are winning still going away. And I keep coming back to that part where, like, I get it. I don't think the defense is good enough right now. I don't think the penalties are acceptable. But I also don't know who's stopping the Ravens' offense. And I think they'll play better defenses. Kansas City stands out significantly. If they were to get to the Super Bowl, maybe it's Minnesota, and Minnesota's defense undoubtedly is that good. Pittsburgh's defense is good. Not quite as good as those defenses, but they're really good. There are a number of good defenses that they could face on their path to trying to get to a Super Bowl. And maybe it won't be as easy as it looked at times last night. Or maybe the Ravens are just that unstoppable. Maybe the combination of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry is just inevitable. It's Thanos. There is nothing that you can do about it. I don't know. We got a long time, obviously, to figure that out. We don't have those answers today. We won't have them soon. You would prefer if they did both things. You'd prefer that they both have an inevitable, unstoppable offense and, clean up in the margins. Get better defensively. Both of the players that they have, and perhaps adding in help from the outside, get way better in the communication. And clean up the penalties. You'd like them to do all of it. Because at that point, it would feel like they become an unstoppable juggernaut. Now, they also need to stay healthy and, the whole thing. Hopefully, we'll continue to get good news about Marlon Humphrey. The news seemed good after the game last night. But none of it outweighs the reality of this team, and notably this offense, being exactly what, if not even more than, both they and many of us thought they could be when pairing these dudes together in the backfield. And none of that, saying it that way, doesn't take away from either one of them. Derrick Henry is better because of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is better because of Derrick Henry. And you can say, well, last night, it's hilarious. I'm not going to leave Derrick Henry off of Pats in the Ass again, but I thought about it. Because, again, the story of the game wasn't really Derrick Henry until, obviously, the end. Right. There's somebody I had to leave off of because of that it really bothers me, but, damn. I mean, I'll finish.
So you left it. So I guess, spoiler, I did leave him off mine this week.
I mean, it's tough, bro.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. But, you could say, hey, the story of last night's game wasn't really even about Derrick Henry, and it wasn't. But the mere presence of Derrick Henry is allowing these video game numbers in the play action from Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. Play action is it really is cheat code. What the hell do you do about it as a defense? It is exactly what we thought it could be. It's maybe even better than that. Because, again, we didn't watch every Derrick Henry game in Tennessee, and he never had anything like this going on. They were just stacking boxes, and we marveled at the fact that they were stacking boxes and he was still able to be as productive as he was. Now, they can't always stack boxes. God, it is breathtaking to watch this. It's nuts. Teams are trying to blitz. Okay, you keep that right up. Go for it.
Worked for a series and a half.
Yeah, for 2 plays, it worked really well. And then all of a sudden, everybody remembered, oh, right, we're the best team in the NFL against the blitz. Yeah, you go right ahead. We got a screen game now. You ever heard of that? Yeah, you familiar with it? Because we are. I don't mean we as me, we. I was talking as if I were the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. Make that abundantly clear. I am not.
You're asking for a job. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I could offer some services. I was a communications major after all. Perhaps I could help in that department. Do some team bonding exercises, maybe a nice trust fall in order to try to get the communication improved.
Figure out how to get the safeties and the DBs to communicate.
Remember the thing at the ropes course where they would have the spider web and you had to get everybody through, but they could only go through one quadrant of only one person could go through each quadrant of the spider web.
Sure. And
you had to pick who was going through which one. And
gotcha.
So now you had to figure out who your little person was that you could pick up and get through one of the top ones. Like, who was going to go kamikaze style and just dive through at first? Like, that's the stuff I'm talking about, man. We can do that. We're on it. We can do some. Is Genesee Valley still a thing? The kids still go there? Let's go. Take the team. Work on the ropes course. Is that still
Genesee Valley?
Genesee Valley.
Is that a Maryland thing? What is the?
Yeah. Genesee Valley was a ropes course. Genesee Valley Outdoor Learning Center in Parkton. Genesee Valley looks like it's still a thing. Let's go.
The only ropes course is the one in like Pikesville off of Northern Parkway. That's the only one I
don't know that.
I remember seeing.
I don't know what's that one.
I forget what it's called. I don't know. It's by my aunt's house. So
I got questions about that.
You got questions? What do you mean?
I don't know if I trust the one by your aunt's house.
Why? 'Cause it's in Pikesville?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly what it is. I got a Pikesville problem. Yeah, we're going. Let's take the whole team to Genesee Valley. We're doing it. Let's get a team bonding. We'll do some trust falls. We'll go through the spider. We'll do the whole thing in order to work together and prove that we can get the communication figured out. I'm on it. On it. Look, man, I would like for everything to be better. Plain and simple. I'd like for it all to be better. But I'll live with this. In the meantime, I will live with the offense being unstoppable and there being time. Because if they stay healthy, it's hard for me to see how defenses adjust to this. It's like suggesting that defenses were going to at some point adjust to Steph Curry. Like, there's nothing you can do. They're the only ones that can stop themselves offensively if they stay healthy. Those two principles stay healthy. And even then, we've seen plenty of success from Lamar Jackson without Derrick Henry. It's just that Derrick Henry provides another level of success. So even if they can't get it all figured out, even if they're going to be a pedestrian defense, even if they're going to be a team that deals with penalty issues, if those guys stay healthy, it is hard to fathom how anyone has an answer for it. And then there's every other layer to this conversation. Last night there was consternation about the usage of Derrick Henry. It seemed as though the Ravens got away from Derrick Henry in the second quarter and on into the third. I wasn't there. I got why the questions were being asked. The broadcast was, of course, obsessed with it. It was weird. It was like there was some sort of CNN breaking news graphic on Derrick Henry not on the field, more at 11.
They were cutting him between every play.
It was wild, man. Like, really, and I think it added to why it was the conversation got so loud on Twitter, is just because the conversation was so loud on the broadcast. It felt like almost like the TMZ treatment of, we need Derrick Henry on the field. Like, we're watching Derrick Henry's every move. It was like Taylor Swift watching a Chiefs game. Like, it's the Derrick Henry cam. As a lot of people pointed out, the 2-minute drill, Derrick Henry usually is not on the field. And in passing situations, typically Derrick Henry is not on the field. Now, there is a fair conversation to have about, hey, my opinion, if it is yours, is that once you get the 1st and goal and there's still 40 seconds left, I want Derrick Henry on the field. Because I want the defense to still be panicked about all of the potential options that are there. And I think it's a fair take. I do. I think it's a fair, reasonable thing to say. In that specific situation, on that play, I would have liked to have seen Derrick Henry on the field. Okay. I don't think it matters if they commit holding penalties in the stray plays. I don't know that it matters who's on the field.
Were they going hurry up at that time, so they didn't want to make a chance
can't
for
remember
subs?
if they were still hurry up between picking up the first down. I can't remember, but yes, it would make sense to try to keep tired players on the field at that point. As it turns out, maybe it tired out their own offensive line. I don't know. Don't have the answer to that. But I could listen to that take of, hey, I would like, get the 1st and goal, you've matriculated the ball down the field, now have Derrick Henry out there. Sure. In a vacuum, that makes sense. Is it the answer to why they didn't score a touchdown on that drive? I don't think so. But I get it in a vacuum. In a vacuum to say that. The 2nd and 2 play where they ended up, going backwards it was a 5-yard penalty, and then they ended up having the snap off Zay Flowers. They lost 20 yards. Some of which ends up being on Lamar, right? Like, and we don't like saying it because we will live with these things. But Lamar is so desirous of making something out of nothing that even in that situation, when he picked up the ball, he did have a second where he had a chance to throw the ball away. He was out of the pocket. He could get the ball back to the line of scrimmage. There was a window on that play where he had a chance to salvage it, at least to get back to the original line of scrimmage. He chose to instead try to keep the play alive and make something out of it.
And the ref tackled him.
I mean, the whole thing. And as I've said before, this is like talking about Manny Machado and base running. Like, I'll live with Lamar Jackson's over-aggressiveness because a lot of times Lamar Jackson's over-aggressiveness ends up really good. Remember the play in the first half to Rashad Bateman where he just kept going on the right side of the field after he spun out? A lot of times those things work out. I'll live with it. Yesterday it led to it, and it wasn't all on him because it started with the snap problem. But yesterday it led to a 20-yard loss, or last night it led to a 29-yard loss. And then they turned around and got a bunch of yards back on third down and got themselves back in the long field goal range and got 3 points out of it anyway. So, forgiven. But yeah, like I get why everybody wants Derrick Henry to be on the field all the time. But I think the combination of what you like of Justice Hill, particularly in pass pro, and as being an option to catch passes down the field, and the desire to not overwork Derrick Henry so much during the regular season that come the postseason you somehow have a lesser version of Derrick Henry seems smart to me. And there's no math formula. It would be easy to say, hey, if you can keep Derrick Henry, I've seen the future, and if Derrick Henry finishes with 250 carries and no more, then he'll be the best version of himself in the playoffs. But if he finishes with 251 carries or more, he won't be. Like, you can't do that. You're trying to figure it out. Generically, you're trying to say, let's not overwork Derrick Henry. Without even knowing if that's going to be the difference. But you're just trying to figure out if you can limit how much you're asking of Derrick Henry and prioritizing he's here to be the closer. We absolutely want to have him on the field in the fourth quarter and in the playoffs. So if that requires him being off the field a little bit more in the second or the third quarter, that's a trade-off that I'm willing to accept. And I get it. This is not an if-then situation. We don't know that it requires. We don't know that there's a number that will guarantee any of this. But I think it's a theory that is based in sound principle, and the Ravens are working with it to try to figure out how to best use Derrick Henry and make sure that he's available to them to go try to win a Super Bowl. So, not worked up about Derrick Henry being off the field. And as I said last night on Project Gameday, they also were moving the ball just fine. Yeah. It's one thing if the Ravens suddenly, if they try to get Derrick Henry off the field for a stretch of the game to keep him fresh, and then all of a sudden the offense goes to hell, then yeah, I'd probably get Derrick Henry back on the field at that point and say, whatever our plan was, the hell with that. Let's go to Derrick Henry now. Yeah, I'd be in favor of it, but that wasn't the issue. Clearly, the Ravens were moving the ball just fine. And again, the penalties were the problem at the end of the penalties were the problem on that drive at the end of the first half that took them.
Unless the argument is that Derrick Henry being on the field makes the offensive line not hold. Like,
I mean, maybe. I have no idea how that would be the case, but maybe. And then, of course, in the second half, the problem ended up being the the snap, the ball that goes off of Zay Flowers and, Lamar tries to do the Superman routine with. Then they still scored on both possessions. Like, I can't get worked up. I can't pretend like this was some disaster that they didn't have Derrick Henry on the field. Like, if they go through stretches where they're not scoring where the offense is lost, if it's like 3 straight 3-and-outs and Derrick Henry wasn't on the field, then I absolutely understand the argument of, yo, what the F are you doing? Get Derrick Henry on the field. But they were moving the ball. They were having no problem at that point. They were doing everything at will other than the penalties and the bad snap. And again, those things are issues, and I get it. That goes back to Femi's obsession with the clean game, and it was not a clean game last night, but it was not a clean game that they still should have won going away. And more or less did, with the caveat being that they gave up an onside kick at the end and kind of didn't care defensively late and got sloppy. So it looks like it wasn't a blowout, but for all intents and purposes, it was a blowout.
And, yeah, I mean, it's the Ravens. No one's been able to slow them down, it really looks like. The only thing slowing them down is themselves.
Yes.
It's when they conspire against themselves.
Yes. That's the reality. Offensively specifically, right? Like, that's the only thing. Look, you can kudos to the Buccaneers. They got a stop early, and you were like, wow, okay, maybe the momentum of that and the fact that their offense was going a little bit, like, maybe this will be a factor. Maybe the Buccaneers were just a little more emotionally ready for this game, and they can put the Ravens behind the 8 ball, and who knows what might happen. And how'd that work out for them? Like, that lasted for 3 minutes. And, yes, we can all – first of all, before we keep going, tell everybody about Live Casino and Hotel, please.
Every time that Baltimore or Washington is home this season and they score a touchdown, and boy, does it seem like they are both scoring lots of touchdowns this season, you got to get out to Live Casino because Live Rewards members get $7 in free slot play for every touchdown scored during home games. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine. Any slot machine on the floor be actively playing in order to get your prize, but once those touchdowns score, $7 in free slot play for Live Rewards members at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Trying to run through all of my notes and all the takes that I have. Yes, we can talk about the fact that Mike Evans had to leave the game very early on, and is it a different football game if Mike Evans is able to stay out there? Maybe. Maybe. But there's a lot of butterfly effect going on. What is Mike Evans doing to keep the Ravens from scoring on 5 consecutive possessions? Is it more plausible that the Buccaneers could hang around and could answer the Ravens scores if Mike Evans is on the field? Yeah, it's definitely more plausible. I agree with that. But I think there's some trade-off there. The stuff that happened at the end of the game was goofy and silly. I think it was probably I think 41-31 with a healthy Mike Evans is probably about the best case scenario that the Buccaneers could have asked for, because they're probably not getting a goofy ball that bounces backwards on a throw into the flats that they can recover and get a short field, and then they're recovering an onside kick. I don't think those things are things that you can expect are going to happen in a normal football game. So there's the trade-off of like 15 points that they were gifted, and I feel like that more than makes the difference for not having Mike Evans. I don't think it's a dramatically different game in the end with Mike Evans on the field. I think the way you get to that probably is a bit different. They probably look a bit more functional with Mike Evans on the field, but that's the reality of football. Guys get hurt, right? Like, does the Ravens defense look different if Arthur Millett's on the field? How much more dynamic is it going to be if Keaton Mitchell's on the field? Like, we can do this eternally.
Does Baker suddenly not, throw into triple coverage, if Mike Evans is on the field?
I mean, I guess you could say uniquely the red zone would be the one area where Mike Evans makes the most significant difference, right? Like, he's just a game changer in that department. But, yeah, that still doesn't excuse making that throw. It's insane. Like, I was so at a place where I was ready to say, wow.
Baker.
It's really funny because I remember being on I did a radio show with Bruce Cunningham a couple years ago over on 105.7.
Sounds like a good show.
It was fun. But it's just right. I think it's the only time Bruce and I have ever done a show like a full show together. Like we've sat in on each other's. But I think it's the first time we've ever done.
Sat
a
on
full,
Bruce, yeah.
Yes, correct. On his lap. Just sometimes I don't want to. Bruce is sensitive. Love him. Love the guy. But I remember doing this show the day that Baker signed in Carolina. And I remember saying, like, I don't think this is someone who's spent or is a failure. I think this is someone who has played well, but their team cast them off because they thought they could do something even more dynamic, which, again, hilarious, obviously. I was a believer in Baker Mayfield, but after the Carolina thing, I was totally off the Baker Mayfield train. Like, part of it was once you're wrong, you're scared off. You're like, okay, I was wrong. I stuck my neck out there. I'm out. See ya. Never going to say anything nice about Baker again. Watching, Baker Mayfield, he did
Thursday night thing.
The Thursday night thing. We got to see him in prime time. Watching him early on yesterday, like, it struck me, no, this dude really is different. He ain't Lamar Jackson because there's a really exclusive company. With all due respect, right now you do those quarterback tiers, it's two. It's Lamar and Patrick Mahomes. As great as Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are capable of being, they're not on Lamar's level in the moment. And Jaden Daniels might get there in the coming years. But there's two guys, and the only reason it's two, because you would still normally say it's just Patrick Mahomes, but he has not been Patrick Mahomes. So it's Patrick Mahomes' legacy, the brilliance of Lamar Jackson. Those two dudes have separated themselves. Then it's the next two dudes, and then it's a really good group of the next group of guys, right? Like, after four, it's, Jordan Love, and it's Jaden Daniels, and it's arguably Jared Goff at this point.
Yeah,
He's certainly in the MVP conversation at the moment, but I still, how much of that is him, how much of it is the Lions, it's hard to figure. They're going to be without the Jamison Williams here for a little bit. Not that they don't have other weapons. They've got lots of weapons, but it still hurts to lose one.
You got Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still think C.J. Stroud's in that group.
He threw for 80 yards on Sunday.
I get that makes it all weird when there's a day like that, but you're not going to get me to overreact to it. Like, he threw for 80 yards, and they still should have had a chance to win the game at the end. Like, some of that is I was a bit too effusive in my DeMeco Ryans praise, and then had to watch him coach a game, and I was like, oh. Maybe got a little ahead of myself there.
Maybe it was just all Nico Collins.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was all Nico Collins. The moral of the story being, like, those two dudes have separated themselves. Clearly, they've separated themselves. And with all respect to those other guys, Baker Mayfield would be in that third conversation, right? Like, he'd be in the conversation with that third group. And I was tremendously, like, in that moment last night early on, I was ready to put him in the second group. Like, I was ready to say, like, maybe he's flirting with being, really all the way back to what everybody thought he was going to be. And then he threw that pick.
And then he threw another one.
And I get, that was a third down play, right? The second one.
Yes, it was. Yeah, the second one was the third
I can be a bit more forgiving of trying to make an aggressive play when you're out of scoring range and you're trying to get the ball downfield. And in fairness, that was, the second was just a great play by Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah.
The first one, that's all on Baker.
It was still a good play from Marlon, too.
I'm not saying take it away from him, but it's more on Baker to me. The first one is more quarterback than defensive back. The second one is more defensive back than quarterback. I get it. Guys throw interceptions. Even Lamar has moments. But in that moment where it looked like Baker Mayfield had the opportunity to kind of, like, prove it and say, like, no, dude, this is who I am now, you were reminded, no, you're good. Like, it was wrong for us to write you off completely, but there's still a difference between the best quarterbacks in football and Baker Mayfield. And that was kind of the story in Cleveland. The funny thing is, like, we think about Cleveland as being a disaster, it wasn't a disaster. Like, they made the playoffs. They won in the playoffs. They were, but
they shipped them out of town.
But there seemed to be a limitation. And the theory of there seems to be a limitation wasn't a problem.
The Steelers. They never do that.
I understand. It wasn't the same Steelers, but, I get it. There seemed to be a limitation. I think their thought process of if we're going to break through, we need to do better. I get where the thought process was. It's just that they had the wrong answer for how to go about doing it.
Well, they had it for half a season, and they let him sign with the Colts. So
they did. They had that figured out, didn't they? That was my Baker Mayfield take. And yes, it's a huge bummer to see the Chris Godwin thing was a massive, massive bummer, man. I mean, you're really sick for that. And there's no correct answer. It's so easy to do the bit where why was he even on the field? It's so easy to do that, and it's the same thing I always say. It's not college football. You have, 48? 48 total players available to you. And it's a 2-score game, and I don't know how to handle that appropriately. I think there were some of us that were questioning the Ravens putting Josh Johnson in at the point they did and just being content in a 3-score game to potentially give the ball back to the Buccaneers. I think I don't think it's much like we talk about trying to figure out this math for Derrick Henry. There is no book for this. There's no book that says if you're trailing by 10 with, a minute 20 something left, then you have to stop trying. I remember the dumb when the Ravens did the dumb thing against the Broncos where they tried to make this team rushing thing a thing, which was never a thing, and no one has ever cared about it.
Streak now.
Yeah, that's right. Except for
are the Broncos coming up on the schedule too?
They are 2 weeks. They're very much coming up on the schedule.
Although I think Sean Payton would respect it.
Oh yeah, you think he'd feel differently than Vic Fangio would? And as I said before,
he'll be stacking the box. They're going to be down by 30.
Vic Fangio's response was embarrassing. That was about as dumb gets from Vic Fangio. But so was caring so much about this stupid rushing record. That wasn't a thing. No one has ever or will. So much so that, as you remember, we called Rocky Bleier that week, and Rocky Bleier was like, dude, I had no earthly idea that we had some sort of team 100-yard rushing game. That's not cool, but that's never been a thing. No one has ever thought about it's the dumbest of the dumb. But I remember when that happened, me saying, look, you have the obligation to say we just need to take knees here. Because if you get somebody hurt on that play, it's unforgivable. Unforgivable because it's not in the name of winning. Everything must be in the name of winning. That's the analytic thought process. What you do in the name of winning. The game was won. Take your knees. Be over with. And the response I got back was, yeah, well, the Broncos were still trying. Correct. Because they were down 2 scores. So if they get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, they're going to try to kick an onside kick. And if they get it, then it's a 1-score game with a chance. It's not hard to figure that out. But the Ravens weren't trying to win any longer. The game was won. And it's a similar story of last night. The notion that a team is just supposed to give up. Winning is always the priority. And it's easy to say, well, they probably weren't going to win. And they probably weren't. But, I don't know what happened. Do you take a straw poll on the sideline as the head coach? Does Ty Bowles, walk by? Do you guys want to keep trying? Do you want to give up? Do you want to – I don't know what the correct answer is to this. Because my gut tells me that every single one of those – and this is a topic they can do. Obviously, it don't affect us today. But in Tampa Bay, they'll probably do this radio. My gut would tell me that if you asked every single one of those players, hey, do you guys want to keep trying? They'd all say, hell yeah. Yeah, we don't want to give up. It's a 10-point game. It's one thing if it's a 30-point game with a minute left. It's a 10-point game. Who knows? Just recovered an onside kick. Again, there was that confusion on the internet about whether or not you're allowed to try more than 2 onside kicks. That Apparently that was proposed but never adapted. So
I don't know why that got so much legs though. Like if it was, since it wasn't accepted.
yeah, I don't know how that became a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't really criticize them for trying. Guys do get hurt playing football. I was trying to remember all the Are we sure it was Jalen Phillips and not Bradley Chubb that got hurt late in that?
I'm pretty sure. It was
Okay.
Jalen Phillips.
Because somebody else in the comments was certain that it was Chubb. And I know they both got hurt, so like and because that game was a blowout and we weren't worried about the Dolphins. I just remember that being because that was the only week of Hard Knocks that I watched last year was the week after the Ravens game because, hey, come on. Like, come on. We were all watching that. And I remember it being like they showed a lot of the sideline footage after that injury, and it was brutal. Like, it was brutal. But that wasn't a 10-point game late. That was an ass-kicking late. And they still had those guys out on the field late in that game. So, it's tough, man.
I guess it was Bradley Chubb.
Huh.
Well, what do you want to do about this?
Like for everybody to go back last night and I would just like
Should we re-record the
like an
post-game
apology.
show?
We just like I think I had it right first, and then this. You know what this is? Yeah, and I love him. Everybody knows I love him. Ken is the guilty of. He's like you. The confidence that some of you have.
I thought it was
that you're
Jalen
right
Phillips.
about things that you're not right about. This happens all the time. And Ken, it was the same thing last night.
Also, it's
The
not
Browns
a
have
big deal.
not. It's not a big deal. The Browns have not announced Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback. That has not happened. They are still monitoring.
Ken was saying.
Ken confidently last night. It's like, no, it's not Thompson Robinson. It's Jameis Winston. Thompson Robinson hurt his finger, and like he did, and maybe it will be Jameis Winston. But the Browns have not confirmed that yet.
Maybe it'll be Zappy.
I didn't even realize he was.
They signed him, or they signed. He was on the Chiefs practice squad.
Okay, all right.
They signed him last night or this morning. I don't know.
I wanted to believe in Bailey Zappi when he played for a little while last year. I think I picked him up.
He threw like 50 touchdowns in college football.
I think I picked him up in fantasy at one point. Like I gotta find something, and something's got to work. Yeah. Anyway, the moral of the story being that game was a blowout at that point, and I think it was much more painful, and it did seem like it impacted the team that they had gotten one of their key guys hurt in a blowout. But in a 10-point game last night, it's hard for me to criticize Todd Bowles over the fact that Chris Godwin was in the game, man. It is. It's just hard for me to – the game wasn't over. It was likely over, but not over, and I don't –
and obviously Godwin wants to play. Like,
that's my gut.
yeah.
I don't know that, but my gut would tell me.
I mean, look at Tua. Like he
well, yeah,
itching
sure.
to get back out
but
there.
Look,
And
that's far broader,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
that's more global.
But these are
than-
football players.
Yes, usually that's the case. Usually it's the case that these guys want to be out there all the time. Like that's what they want to do. If we find out if they have, if they're filming a different Hard Knocks, if they have footage where Chris Godwin is saying like,
They got a shot of him going, ugh, and then putting his helmet on.
yeah, then that's a different conversation. But I would be very surprised by that. In a 10-point game, I would still think that Chris Godwin would be interested in being on the field. That's my gut about that situation. But clearly doesn't impact us in any way. The Ravens will continue to wait, and hopefully we'll get some more good news about Marlon Humphrey. Did not get the good news about Arthur Millette yesterday, unfortunately, but that just means that we know now that Arthur Millette will be making his debut this Sunday against the Browns because the Ravens have to activate him this week. So we will look forward to that, and we will also look forward to being with you tomorrow night for the Arthur Millette Show at the Gourmet over at the shops at Kenilworth. Come hang out with myself, Rita, Arthur, his special guest. We're going to have a very fun night. All starts at 7 o'clock. You can find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. It's all brought to you by EasyPass and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. When we come back in, our buddy Femi Ayanbadejo, Super Bowl champion, get some more of his thoughts from what he saw last night, why he was so frustrated even after a good Ravens road win. Do that next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Pressbox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay or Pressbox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas's 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. If the Ravens go down to Tampa and defeat the Buccaneers. If you missed it yesterday, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson got together to preview the World Series. You can find that right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video in order to see it in those locations. And a reminder, during the World Series and through into the off-season, award season, and leading up to whatever the Orioles may or may not do, moving towards the winter meetings and beyond, Stan, Ross, and Luke will be getting together every Monday to talk baseball with you. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Real quick from Joe. Joe says, Glenn, you guys seem downright unhappy at times during the post-game show last night. Was that just because it was a late night, or really do you think that the Ravens have problems? Well, I mean, yeah, if we did, I have no doubt that part of it was because we're doing a show at midnight. Like, there's no doubt about that. But two, problems is the wrong way to say it. And we'll grab Femi here in a second. I think his point about the desire for a clean game is well taken. I'm extraordinarily happy with the Ravens in general. Like, life is good. This is unlike anything that we have seen basically in Ravens history offensively. It's a lot of fun. But as I do bring in our Super Bowl 35 champion, Femi Ayanbadejo. Femi, I think your point more broadly is we're viewing everything through this team's ability to win a Super Bowl. And as fun as this is, and as enjoyable as it is, you look at certain things and say, we've done that. Like, we've had great regular seasons. Now it's about what's going to be the difference in the playoffs. And you commit this number of penalties and you give the ball away sloppily that it's as good as your offense is, it's going to be hard to win in the playoffs.
Does somebody have a disagreement with my desire for a clean game?
I don't think it's specifically that. I think this person just thought that we were too negative in general last night.
No, we're not. We're not being negative. They're not listening. You know what I mean? Take your feelings out of it. This is about a Super Bowl championship. And I guarantee you, because I've been behind closed doors in an NFL locker room, I've sat down with people in NFL front offices. We love what the Ravens are doing as fans. We love that they went out there and won an NFL game on the road. It's one of the hardest things to do in professional sports. I acknowledge all that. But I also can be nuanced. And I also can take my scalpel out and cut around all the positive and dissect that piece of fat out of my fillet and say, this is the piece that I don't want. What I want is for this team to show me, which is what I'm sure when coaches sit down without players around, they say, look, the way we deliver our message does matter, but we know what our goals are. We know that to win a Super Bowl championship, we can't do what we did at the end of that game. We can't do what we did when we're up 24 points and we call a play that allows Lamar to throw the ball laterally backward and then it gets picked up and then the whole momentum changes. Yeah, did we get it back on track? We did. But did it leave a sour taste in our mouth? Did it end the way that we wanted it to? Not for me, it didn't, as a former player that understands. We've been here before, you know, like it's not good enough to win the AFC North. It's not good enough to just go to an AFC championship game. So I stand by what I said. And if somebody has a problem with it, that's their opinion. But I probably agree with what they feel about being positive about the Ravens and that they're the best team in the NFL. They have the highest ceiling in the NFL. I agree with all of that. But that doesn't win you a Super Bowl. Super Bowls are won in February on Sunday evening. You know what I'm saying? That's what I care about right now. And if you're misunderstanding me, or if you think I'm being too negative, that's just the facts. Like, this is about a Super Bowl championship. You know what I mean? I have a ring I can go look at every day. My brother has a ring he can go look at every day. And I remember what that's like. And I remember what the requirement is to get that. And it's not just winning in Tampa 41-31 and doing it in a sloppy fashion where you have all these penalties and you give a team that should have no hope some glimpse of hope. Now, was it a lot of hope? No, but it was a glimmer and they were willing to sacrifice bodies to do it. So what does that tell you? You know what I mean? You didn't bury them when you should have buried them, in my opinion.
What do you make?
That's where I'm at.
What do you make of the penalty? Is that just an in-game discipline specific player thing? Is there a bigger issue with specifically the offensive line and what happened late in the first half? That this is still, the growing pains of this. Like, what do you make of the penalty stuff?
Some of those penalties are just bad calls, though. Like, I think they called one on Zay that was horrible. They called one on Daniel Falele that was just terrible. Yeah. Like, these refs, they want to be seen so bad. They should just put on neon pink, stripes so we can see them and say, hey, how great you are. We're happy to see you. And then maybe they won't call these dumbass penalties. But, some of it is definitely not. They're not penalties, but I'm sure every team is dealing with that. But some of it is just gameplay. You're in the moment and guys are moving fast and these are some of the best athletes in the world. And you just got to trust your teammate with the ball to make the play. Like, because if you hold and you get caught, it just nullifies everything. So the risk reward on getting caught is not worth it. You know what I mean? And I know no one's out there trying to hold and no one's out there trying to jump off sides and no one's out there trying to, have penalties or late hits. Nobody's trying to do that, but penalties are one of those things that when they start kind of coming in bunches, it's got to be a team-wide kind of bulletin everywhere, in lockers, in the cafeteria, in your iPad, on your phone. Like, don't do this. You've got to ingrain it in yourself on a psychological level to not do these things. Because I know no one's trying to do them. But at the end of the day, we remember the AFC Championship game. There were penalties in that game that led to that loss for sure. Now, was there a fumble at the goal line? Yes. Yep. Was there, a sack? Yes. Yep. Okay, of course, all that. But if you eliminate any one of those things, you probably win the game. You know what I mean? To win at the very end, and think about this for a minute. Kansas City, they were not more talented than the Ravens, but guess what? If we go look at that stat sheet, I probably am going to say that they played a cleaner game. Sure. That's why they won. They played a cleaner game.
They did it was the Bill Belichick thing. They did their job, right? They just did what they were supposed to do, and because of that, they went to the Super Bowl and they won it. Femi, the defensive stuff, right? And I feel like we keep coming back to, you believe that they have the pieces. I think we all believe they could still add to that it wouldn't hurt them.
Yep.
But it's not that the group is the problem, it's the performance is the problem, right?
Yeah, no, the talent is there. There's no doubt. I think Zach Orr is a brilliant mind. I love his energy. I love him as a person. And to be honest, I'm not, unless Zach is getting these calls in late, he can't make the calls from the linebackers to the safeties, or from the safeties to the corners, or from the corners to the safeties, or from the corners to the linebackers. Those are the players on the field. These are not high school players. These are NFL players. They're the best in the world. You know what I mean? And some onus has to be put on grown men to do grown men things. And I know, because of the character and the culture of this organization, Coach Harbaugh at the top will take responsibility, and he will shield his coordinators and his coaches, and he will get them to do what needs to be done. And this is how I look at it. This is an 18-week season with 17 exams. You have 17 exams. And the point that I'm trying to make is that you have to be going on an upward trajectory from one exam to the next exam. And I think if I'm going to reduce this down to the lowest common denominator, it seems like on defense sometimes we're not making that upward slope toward better play on defense. It's almost like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That's not what you want to see, right? You want to see, and I know that in the real world, things don't just go up forever, right? Whether it's stocks or whether it's market rates or whatever we're talking about, nothing just goes straight up and nothing just goes straight down, right? Things kind of incrementally move in a direction. What I think it was just a little bit disappointing is that from the Bills game and the Commanders game, I saw some positives, right? The Raiders, we saw backward movement, right? This current game against against Tampa, I mean, it was 24-10, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they had 10 points basically going into the fourth quarter, right? And you end up letting them score 31. Now, I know how we got there. I placed blame on the offense. I told you, I said that the offense has to take responsibility. That backward lateral started this whole thing downward. Right. That was where I remember how I always like to identify, like, where did it get sideways? Like, where did the momentum change? That was the play. That was the play that changed the momentum. And then it led to an onside kick. And you know what happened from there. We all watched it, right? I am searching for that perfect game. Is that a realistic goal? No, it's not. But can you get as close to perfection as possible? Minimize the mistakes to such an extent that you are one of the most disciplined teams in the NFL. You're not letting teams hang around and giving them hope by your own mistakes. And I think right now, we know the Ravens have the highest ceiling in the NFL, but right now they're not playing the most disciplined in the NFL. Do I think that this is all fixable? Absolutely. Do I think all the bodies and all the minds that they need are in that building? Absolutely. Would I love to see a pass rusher like a Max Crosby? Yes, but that's not going to happen probably. There's what a 1% chance of that. But if you ask me, that's who I'd say I would want. If you said you can have anybody you want, who do you want? I want Max Crosby.
Can I ask it this way, Femi? Like, would you be willing to be reckless in that? Like, I say this because we know it's not Ravens. Like, the Ravens don't make these types of moves overwhelmingly, but.
They have. Marcus Peters was kind of one of those moves.
Right. For a lesser. I'm talking about like making if the Raiders said, yeah, we'll move Max Crosby if you want to pay us multiple first-round picks, like most everybody would say.
Yeah, no, they're not. Yeah, they're not going to do that probably. Right. I mean, what did they give up for Roquan? A second-round pick. Yes. And what did they give up for Marcus Peters?
It was like a
third or fourth round pick.
Yeah.
I don't think the Ravens are going to give up more than a second probably. And if you're thinking about winning a Super Bowl and you're like, hey, well, we'll give up a late first, I might be willing to do that. But excuse me, I'm not EDC though. You know, I'm not Eric DaCosta. Sorry, I'm drinking this protein shake. I'm over here burping on the air. Sorry. Good, life is happening right in front of us. But my point is, sorry guys, my point is, and I was like, cut that out later. You're like, no, we're live.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's the way it goes.
Cut that out. But hey, I handled it well.
Yes.
So yeah, but I Max Crosby is such an elite player. I mean, can we be honest? Is he a top 5 defender in the NFL? Probably.
Yeah.
Would we agree on that?
Yeah, right. I mean, right on the edge of it. If not, yeah. I mean, like,
he's a top 10. He's a top 10 defender. He's definitely a top 3 pass rusher, probably, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so I don't see it happening, but there's some things I'd be willing to do for him, because I think Derrick Henry is a piece that has really moved us from probably what, like, I hear this back and forth on ESPN, right? Like, Derek and Mike Greenberg is just so hyperbolic, dude. Oh, Derrick Henry's the MVP. The Ravens were in the AFC Championship game without Derrick Henry last year. They could have won the AFC Championship without Derrick Henry last year. Does having him make it easier? Absolutely. It takes them from a 95 to a 98, but they were already at 95. Right. I mean, come on, stop it. You know what I mean? Lamar is the straw that stirs the drink. Lamar is playing out of his mind. Lamar is the best player in the world. The best football player in the world right now. And I say that. And I didn't say that in the beginning of the year. I said it was Pat Mahomes. It's not Pat Mahomes.
Right.
It is not
at
Pat
the
Mahomes.
moment.
It is Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Exactly. At the moment. At this moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that if we broaden out our calendar, can we say over the last 5 years, the best player in the NFL has been Pat Mahomes? Absolutely.
Yes.
We can say that because he has all the hardware to prove that. But week in, week out in the 2024 season, if we're being prisoners of the moment and you make me make a micro decision about who the best player in the world is right now, it is absolutely Lamar Jackson. And guess what? The best running back in the world right now is Derrick Henry, and they happen to be in the same backfield. And who's the best run offense in the NFL, right? Who's the best run offense in NFL history? It's the Baltimore Ravens, right?
Oh.
So all the things, these are all positives. But I'm not sitting here. My job is not to blow smoke and tell you the things you already know. My job is to be an analyst and tell you where the issue can be and what we need to win a Super Bowl. And I am the most purple drinking, purple bleeding, Raven wearing Raven you will ever meet. I live it, breathe it all day, 24/7.
We got to put that in your bio.
The things I do online.
We got to put
it on my put.
We got to put that in your bio.
Tell Griffin to whatever I just said. I don't even know what I said.
Purple drinking, purple. We got to find exactly what it was, and that's got to be how we got to put that on the screen for Femi moving forward.
Just make that my clip. Make that my clip. No one loves the Baltimore Ravens more than I love them. And I hate when people say that, because then it's like I'm comparing myself to someone else. I'm not. I'm just saying that I love this team.
Yes.
I love this front office. I love this staff. And I've seen many iterations of it, and I'm still here. You know what I mean? And I remember how I've talked about in the past, like I see the thread from Dennis Green to John Harbaugh that actually exists, the Minnesota Vikings kind of thread from Brian Bill. Like, I've gone down a rabbit hole on this connection, and it's a vibe and it's an energy, and people will be like, what do you mean? And one day I want to sit down and I want to explain what I mean by that. My point is, I've been watching this for a few decades now, and I want every single player on this team that has not won a ring, and every single person in the front office that has not won a ring, and everyone that has, I want them to have another one. Mm-hmm. And what that feels like, the euphoria, the satisfaction, the pride that comes with that. I want that for this team. I want that for this city. And it's never enough. When you get one, you want two, and you want three, and you want four, and you want 10. That's what this is, and that's what my energy is about. So please don't misinterpret my critique for where I'm at.
And I appreciate it, but it's funny, Femi, because you started going down the road of where I am, which is I don't think they would make that type of crazy trade for Max Crosby, but I think there are arguments for why, if there was ever a year to do it, if there was ever a time in franchise history to say we will do something. I really do. I said this to Jeremy the other day. I genuinely appreciate, as a fan, the philosophy that started with Ozzie Newsome after the post-Super Bowl 35 purge, that we're not going to go all in for 1 year. We want to be good every year. And the joy that has brought our community, that every year that there's been a healthy quarterback since then, the team has mattered, and it has been relevant, and there has been life, and it has been vibrant. There is a relationship between the success of the football team and the joy that the city feels. That,
absolutely.
Like, we can call it trite. Like, there would be people that would say, hey, football doesn't matter as much. Dude, live it. You know. There is a joy that we experience in this city when it starts getting cold outside and it would be otherwise miserable, that we can tie to the fact that the football team is good every year. And I'm grateful for the fact that that's what Ozzie Newsome laid out, is let's be good every year, and it's been carried down. And I don't want them to suddenly rip that up. But if there was one time to say, hey, but part of the identity in recent years has also been playoff failures, And we don't know how long Derrick Henry is going to be here and performing at this level. We do have to acknowledge that he is in his 30s, although he might truly be an alien, and he might, be able to do this until he's 50 because it's insane looking at that human being. But they signed him for 2 years. It just feels like if there was ever a time to be a little bit bolder than the Ravens usually are, this season might be the season to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of that. And I think what we're seeing is a fine-tuning of the recipe. It's not a change of the ingredients. It's a tweak of the spices. You know what I mean? Like, the recipe works. Like, we know what that is. And the thing is that when it comes to playoff football and high caliber playoff football and AFC and NFC championship and Super Bowl games, right? To win those games, you just got to be able to make your best sauce on that day. Like, we know they can make it through the course of 18 weeks because you get 17 tries over 18 weeks to do it. Like, we know that, right? And I do agree with you. If there was ever a time to take a risk on a singular player at a singular moment, you got Derrick Henry. Max Crosby is almost his equivalent. Not his equivalent, almost his equivalent. But could you imagine Max Crosby in purple? He embodies the play like a Raven moniker. Question. If there is a player on another team that embodies it, it's Max Crosby.
No question.
Let's be real. What are the Raiders? Who are they? I keep saying Oakland Raiders. I'm from the Bay Area. They're the Oakland Raiders to me. You know what I mean? Like, I say Oakland Raiders every time I talk about them. I know they're the Las Vegas Raiders, and guess what? AP is a good dude. I played against Anthony. I know who he is. You know what I mean? Like, all right, sorry, Antonio. And I've been getting my names mixed up. I think I called
Brandon
Williams last night.
There's stuff going on.
It was I'm talking really fast. I'm trying to get all my stuff done. But my point is, you guys know what I'm trying to say. I'm just to know that somebody's probably gonna be like, oh, you mean him? You mean this person?
Yes.
We know we're petty these days. When it comes to
point is the part that matters, not the minutia. Like, don't get
lost.
Yeah,
for sure. But my point, and I do think that if there's ever a time to go all in and go get the guy that you need to get, and is he even available though? I know we don't
know, right? Like, it is all hypothetical because they made the Devontae Adams trade. They might say, dude, we don't think we're going to be down for the next couple of years. We think next year we'll have a quarterback, and we think we can be good again. I don't know who that quarterback would be, but they might feel that way. I think there's reason to believe that it would make sense for them, but no, we have not seen any reporting that they are purposefully trying to move Max Crosby. The only reporting we've seen has been if they were to be overwhelmed with an offer, then maybe they would consider it. But I think.
I mean, unless they get like Milroe from Alabama, who I think is like Lamar light. You know what I mean? Like, he has a lot of Lamar ability. Like, I think that dude's going to be an amazing NFL player if he has the right coaching. Because I watched some of the mistakes he makes at Alabama. Once again, I'm not an Alabama fan. Like, I'm not going to be out here like Roll Tide. That's not my thing. But I think Jaden Milroe is a really talented player, and he's the guy in college football they look at and go, okay, I see some Lamar abilities in this kid. I'd like to see him at the NFL level with some good coaching. Maybe the Raiders get somebody like that. Maybe that's what they're banking on. I have no idea. But if there's a way to get somebody like Max Crosby into purple, and you can do it without mortgaging your future, for sure. But I feel like the Ravens are pretty young, right? I mean, if you look at them across the board, O-line is young, receivers are young, Lamar is still young, believe it or not. Dude's 27. I know it's crazy to say that, but he is. The only person who's really got some age on them, I mean, Ronnie Stanley's been around for a while, but he's not really old. Yeah, he's had some injuries.
Marlon's getting up there a little bit.
I'm just talking about offense right now. But,
got it.
But we can do a whole defense analysis, a defensive analysis later. But my point is that the Ravens are a pretty young team. Like, most of the guys that they need to worry about are under contract. So even if you go get Max Crosby, I think you get another year of Derrick Henry. Man, like, I think, like, if you want to talk about beating the Chiefs in Kansas City, like in January, like that's the combination that you might need. Or hey, check it out. The guys that you have can do it. They absolutely can. We know that they can. But this goes back to my desire for that clean game. You're going to need that clean game to beat that team on the road in January, because it looks like that's where that game's going to be played.
All right. Now, speaking of good news, and there was plenty of good news last night, there's been even more good neast for BetYard AI. You guys are on a heater at this point.
Yeah, we've been really crushing it the last couple of weeks. And last weekend, we were 7 for 9 on our high confidence picks. So, the beauty of the platform is we have a performance guarantee. If we're not over 50%, you get the next week free. You know what I mean? And everyone gets a free week to try. So it doesn't cost you anything to give it a chance for a week. You know what I mean? Go to betyardai.com, check us out. We do spread, we do the point total, we do the money line. All our percentages in regard to our performance, we only count the spread in the point total. Money line, I mean, it's easy to pick winners on the money line, but can you win consistently? Can you be consistently over 60%? Last year we were 73% on our spread. We were 68% on our point total for the season. I full transparency. We started out the first couple weeks slow, but the last 3 weeks we're right on target. We're right back to where we were doing what we're supposed to be doing. We treaded water for a few weeks there, but this has been an interesting season. A lot of volatility, some rules changes. The ball moving on special teams, some different players in different places, key players in different places. So yeah, there's always a little adaptation that needs to take place. But yeah, we're definitely doing really well right now. So come on board, check us out, betyardai.com.
And of course, you get your first week free. Like that part of it is huge, and
you get the performance guarantee.
Right.
The performance guarantee.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This is about making money and winning. That's what this is about. Love you, brother. You're my favorite. Purple Kool-Aid, drinking all Kool-Aid. We got to figure out exactly what that was.
Yeah. Hey, Griff. When you get a chance, bro, please send me that because that's gonna be something. I'm gonna put that somewhere. That's gonna be my thing for sure. And it was so spontaneous. I went like full flow mode on that one. I don't even know what I said.
We're running with it. I know that much. All right, dude. We will talk to you on Sunday. Thank you as always, buddy. Really appreciate you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Femi Ayanbadejo, Super Bowl 35 champion, with us as he is every week. Normally on Monday, but with the Ravens playing last night, we did it on Tuesday this week. And yeah, he'll be back with us for Project Game Day this coming Sunday. Following Ravens-Browns, we do it every game day all season long. We are rolling along on a Tuesday edition of GCR. Today's show also brought to you by this print issue of Press Box, which is available right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. On the cover, you find Derek Queen and Julian Reese. Reunited in College Park, the Baltimore-built duo, former teammates at St. Francis. They have gotten back together as they now look to try to return Maryland basketball to prominence. You can go pick up that print issue of PressBox right now. And again, as always, PressBoxOnline.com. And speaking of MIAA connections, our next guest, of course, is the pride of McDonough. And you read him at Yahoo Sports. He is Mr. Forverts himself. He's our buddy Charles McDonald. And he is back with us now here on GCR. Charles, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, man. Thank you, as always, for taking the time for us.
Yeah, always got time for you. How's it going?
Everything is good. I mean, my God, the Ravens have won 5 straight games. You asked me that quick. This is.
I know how it's going,
bro. I said this last night, and you know what I'm talking about. There was a time, and I'm 41, so I've seen all of it, right, with the Baltimore Ravens. There was a time when watching this team offensively was as pleasurable as it would have been to take sandpaper to your genitals. Like, it was hell watching this. What we're watching now is almost impossible. I keep saying, this can't be real. This can't be my life. It's not supposed to work this way. It's pure joy. Will they win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't have the ability to – I don't have a crystal ball or anything like that. But my God, the fact that we get to sit down every week and spend 3.5 hours watching Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry play football together, you can't – I remember getting a Super Nintendo for Christmas as a kid, and this is better than that.
It's really unreal. And look, I've done this before. And I hope it ends better than you, because in 2016 with the Falcons, I felt the same way.
Yep.
You know, but I will say, people ask me if I would go through that season again, and I say yeah, because the highs were so fun. You get to see with what Baltimore is doing right now. It's so much fun when you believe that your team will score a touchdown every time that they have the ball, and and when you get into a game like you were in last night. Let's go score 40. Let's see if we can score 50. Let's see how many points we can put on the board, because it doesn't really seem like anyone is able to stop this. Before the season, I had concerns about the offensive line. They've played a lot better than I thought that they would have. and you have Lamar Jackson, who's been the best quarterback in football this year, and also Derrick Henry just kind of seems to be immune to whatever aging process that running backs go through. So this is just amazing. I thought that they would have a fringe top 10 offense this year, but now you're looking at one of the best offenses in NFL history through the first 7 games of the season. So it's been amazing to watch. Lamar Jackson's just playing at a completely different level. He had another one of those games where he's got as many touchdowns and completions, and the only really blemish was that fumble that went backwards at the end of the game, but it was so out of hand at that point. Who cares? They're just playing on a different level right now.
I feel like we get to become slaves to the moment, and we are all guilty of hyperbole. But at the moment, Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL, and it doesn't appear as though it's close. And I get it, Patrick Mahomes is still breathing, and as I keep saying, you have to prove that once you get to the playoffs. But this is a moment thing. Right now in the NFL, I can't fathom making an argument for there being anyone who is a better football player than Lamar Jackson.
No, he's been the best player in the league this year, which to me is no slight to Patrick Mahomes, because honestly, I'm kind of in the bucket where I still think Patrick Mahomes playing really well, but it's just the stats just aren't showing up for him for whatever reason. But with Lamar, this is one of those undeniable seasons. There's no one to me who's even within spitting distance of being a potential MVP contender up to this point in the season, because what's different from last year is the defense hasn't been up to the usual standards. So you've kind of actually needed points in some of these games, especially the game against the Bengals a few weeks ago.
Right.
But you're still getting it. You're not wilting under pressure. You have the best backfield in the league. I can't think of a more perfect duo in football right now than Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And part of the reason why Derrick Henry gets to have some of these monster games is because Lamar Jackson is playing the best player in football. So it's all working together. Even the Rashad Bateman breakout season has been a lot of fun to follow. So I can't imagine watching this team and being this is boring or whatever. No, this is the most exciting Ravens team that I've seen, or at least the most exciting Ravens offense that I've seen probably ever.
All right, we're going to get to the defense in a second, because there is a conversation to be had there. You just brought up Rashad Bateman. Bateman wanted to come on with me this offseason after the everything with his contract, and it was interesting, right? Because I was a bit surprised by it, but I asked him, because he's been maligned. You're a first-round pick, and he hasn't lived up to maybe that billing, but I've never thought it was his fault. He's always been open. He gets open constantly. The ball just wasn't coming his way for whatever reason, and so the numbers weren't there. And so I brought it up kind of half expecting him to be yeah, I don't give a rat's ass what fans think. But it was the exact opposite of it. He was apologetic. I'm sorry. I get why you guys are mad at me. And it was one of the most profound things that I had heard from an athlete in that spot in a long time. It really took me back when I was having the conversation. I have so much joy seeing what's going on with Rashad Bateman right now, because I have never thought that this was a story about Rashad Bateman. I have always seen that dude get open and be available and just not have the ball come his way. Seeing it happen for him is one of my favorite things about this season, bar none, because it's never I've never thought he's done anything wrong in this process.
Yeah, it's funny because me and my friends, film junkie nerds who are watching all this stuff, we've been joking. Oh, it's a joke, but whatever beef Lamar and Bateman had, it's gone because Lamar's throwing him the ball. Because it's not like you said, it's not like Bateman wasn't getting open in the past or that he was just a bad player. It's just for whatever reason the targets weren't always coming his way. And I think you have to give Eric DeCosta a lot of credit here in saying that no, that's something that can rectify itself as we get more reps between Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman, because if you were just to take, if you were just to look at it from just a fantasy perspective, you're just looking at the production, you'd probably be oh, that's a little confusing, why they decided to extend him at that point after, season last year. But, you look at a more total approach and you get to see, no, there's a guy who's got a lot of yards left on the field from times when he gets open and the ball's not coming his way. And also, like, he's only 24. Like, there's still a lot of room for him to get better as a player in his own right. So I love what the Ravens are doing on offense this season. To me, it's like the most fun style of offense to play. Like, we're going to run the ball and we're going to throw deep and we're going to try to just score as many points as we can. And, when we get to the second half, we can play keep away better than any other team as long as we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. Like, that to me is like the ideal way to play offense. And you need guys like Rashad Bateman and Dave Flowers to kind of make that possible. So, yeah, I'm pumped for Rashad in the year that he's had. And, he might be able to get his first 1,000-yard season if he can keep up this pace.
Man, he is, of course, Charles McDonald, Mr. Forverts, Yahoo Sports, the Football 301 podcast. He is with us here on GCR. Charles, I did see you kind of took our friend Cole Jackson to task a little bit last night on Twitter because there is consternation amongst a percentage of Ravens fan base about Zach Orr and about the struggles of the defense. And I acknowledge that some of the numbers are circumstantial, right? Like, some of it is based on the offenses that they've played. And if it was more opponent neutral, the data suggests that they're not a bad pass defense. They're kind of a more middle ground pass defense. And I acknowledge that some of it is game circumstance, right? Like, they've been ahead in some games where teams just completely abandon the run and we're only throwing the football. Like, I get that there is circumstance to it. But what do you make of the struggles in general, the Ravens defense? Are they as bad as we think? How do you dissect them? Like, what do you make big picture of what the Ravens are as a defense, and particularly the pass defense?
To a degree, like, you are what your record says you are. And outside of, like, the Buffalo game where, and I would say, most of the Dallas games and the Buffalo game, like, outside of that, it hasn't been, like, too difficult to move the ball in, like, key circumstances. Like, outside of running the ball, running the ball has been hell for most teams against the Ravens. But the pass game hasn't been as great up to their standards as they were last year. But I still kind of think that this is something that can work itself out as the season goes along. And at least you're not at, like, worst of all time territory.
Right.
There's spots like even last night where before Marlon gets hurt, you're kind of shutting down the Bucs passing game outside of a couple like Mike Evans bombs, that's just kind of what he does. He's just going to get that on every defense. So I thought they were playing a good game up until that point. And I think you're still looking at some moving pieces, right? Zach Orr is new here. Nate Wiggins, even though he's played well, like, he's still a rookie, and that's going to take time. Marlon Humphrey, like, his aggressive style of play, it can get you caught up in some big plays at certain points, but you still don't want to lose that edge. The only point that I really get concerned about, like, moving forward for the Ravens defense, is I just think the middle of the field has been a lot worse than in years past. And sometimes, it looks like Roquan Smith's a step slow or, a step behind on some of these plays where last year felt like he was just all on top of it. I don't know if that's an age thing. I don't know if there's a lot of my play here as I'm trying to help a new defensive coordinator get into, his own standing in the league. But that is an area that I do find some concern, just the overall speed in the middle of the field, and, how quickly they're triggering on some of these plays. Because, look, the run defense is going to get you into, a bunch of second and third and longs where the passing is a little bit more obvious and you're not really having to guess if we're running or passing. So you would hope that they can just kind of pick up on that a little faster, but it hasn't quite been there yet. But still, I can't be at the point right now yet where I'm saying, like, Roquan Smith can't figure this out or play better football as the season goes along. You got games against the Browns and the Broncos coming up, so that's a great chance to kind of get back into the swing of things as far as playing the style of defense you want before you have a game against the Bengals again. But I still think they just have too much talent on defense where it's really going to be a bad time for them the entire season.
I acknowledge, like, I want, as someone who is openly a Ravens fan, like, I'm from here, I want the Ravens defense to be better. I also wonder if it doesn't, like, there is this part of me that says, and we're so not used to it, because, again, we started this conversation by me reminding how awful it was watching Ravens offense years ago, that maybe there is a reminder that, hey, it might be okay if this is just a middle-of-the-road defense, that the offense might just be that good that you can win a Super Bowl without having an outstanding or anything Ravens-like defense.
Yeah. I mean, if the offense is this good, then what you got on defense is fine, right? Because they're scoring at this rate. But we all know, like, it would be better if they played better. And then you could actually go on and be, kind of where it picked up where you left off last year, except with a better offense. So, I mean, obviously at this point, it's probably unreasonable to expect them to get back to being like, dominant defense. But if you can just get to like 12 to 16 range, like this is the Super Bowl favorite, like that's the only thing that gives you a little bit of concern here, because like the Bengals did score 30 points.
Yep.
Joe Burrow was throwing bombs. Baker got into it, got them. I wouldn't say back in the game, but they were doing some stuff towards the end, and even Jaden Daniels, a bunch of key third down conversions where you're hoping your experience to be able to beat a rookie quarterback. They're still just struggling in some of these like high leverage spots, but I still can't quit the talent. There's just too many guys there that I know are good football players that I still think by the end of the season they'll be okay.
All right. So all that being said, if they were to do one thing before the trade deadline, what would you want to see them do?
Oh wow. I mean, it would. I don't think it would happen, but man, I might try to go trade for like a Max Crosby. Like if you can figure out the money, like it would never happen. It would never ever happen. But financially, they can afford to trade for Myles Garrett. But that would never happen because I think the Browns would rather die than give their franchise player to the Ravens.
I get that. The Crosby thing is so fascinating because like the numbers. This year would be tough because the Ravens only have like $4 or so million of the cap space. They'd have to do a lot of work even to get a prorated Crosby number under the cap this year.
Right.
But I mean, like, could it be done? Yeah, it could be done. It's just so un-Ravens like. But man, I really am coming around to like not the I want you to just throw away. I don't want you to be Mike Ditka lighting all of your picks on fire to try to get Ricky Williams, but I kind of want you to be Mike Ditka lighting all of your picks on fire. I just feel like there is such a unique opportunity given their recent history of playoff failures to kind of rewrite their identity as a franchise, combined with not knowing how long Derrick Henry will be here and doing this given his age. Like, there is a part of me that says this is the moment. If there is any world where you can trade for Max Crosby, do it. Like, do something very un-Ravens-like and try to take advantage of the moment that's in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, that would be the quickest fix to some of their pass game woes, because if you can just add like one sure bet, like as far as an edge threat, that would make a lot of sense. That I think that would make their defense better. Maybe there's like guys on teams who are falling apart where you can just maybe get someone off the bin real quick, where they can be like a little pass rush boost. But I think it's not like you can. Not that anyone was calling for it, but it's not like you could like bench Roquan Smith. So why not go find someone who can make his life a little bit easier right now, where you're not having to sit in the middle of the field and run traffic in the middle of the field trying to get stopped. If you can just rush the passer a little bit better, I think that would go a long way towards seeing this pass defense climb the rankings in terms of efficiency, because they have the secondary talent. I think sometimes it's just a little bit tough when you're not getting home as much as you like.
Charles, what all can we plug for you, brother?
We got Football 301 podcast, writing on Yahoo Sports. I mean, that's a lot. So yeah. and also if you download the Yahoo Sports app, sometimes for primetime games, me and my buddy Nate Tice will hop in there in the discussions page for big games and chat with people for.
Oh, that's cool.
Throughout the whole length of the game. So we debuted it last week for Broncos Saints. The game did not go well, but the discussions tab did. So we had a good time there, just kind of laughing at the Saints.
And I was gonna say I'm gonna guess that was no problem for you. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, no.
The Ravens Steelers is good, but there is a special kind of petty related to Falcons Saints, man. Like there is
It's if you go back into the history of it, it's basically like, hey, we both suck so bad.
Right.
Like, you guys want to pick on each other?
Right.
Like, yeah, sure.
This is what we have.
Right. We're in the sewer. Yeah. No one's ever winning anything around here, but we know that. We still hate each other.
Yeah, I have felt that, man. It's one of my favorite things about Twitter, actually. It's Falcons Saints. @4verts, as always, is how you follow him. Charles, it's great to catch up, bro. Let's do it again real soon. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning, man.
Thanks.
Charles McDonald with us here on GCR, Pride of McDonough, and one of my favorites in the NFL media landscape. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. I don't know what's going on outside, but now I'm even more confused because I think John Colson just took a trophy out to there have been folks, our friends from the Army have been right outside our window here. And
when I pulled up today, I thought it was Puerto Rican Day Parade. It was, the parking lot was just packed.
Yeah, there was a lot
I
of
wasn't sure I was going to park for a second. I thought I was going to park.
So, by the way, I was in New York, and I ended up in the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Nice. This is a straight shoot. I was just leaving. I was up visiting my buddy in Brooklyn, and I drove down a particular street. And when I drove down that particular street, they thought somebody came up to me, handed me a flag.
They thought you were Puerto Rican?
They just thought I was in the parade. Like, they thought that my car somehow ended up this is a straight shoot, in the parade.
Wow.
I was driving down. There were people. They were honking. It was great. I loved it. I could not have had more fun. But it was stolen.
You were Ferris Bueller.
Stolen valor AF. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't quite a twist and shout. Like, I wasn't going that far. But like,
what did John do?
Okay, so I'm trying to paint this picture for everybody. There's an Army office right next to our office, and two of the folks from the Army.
It must be like an open house or something today.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
There's an event of some sort today. Yes, the parking was hard to come by. There's some sort of event going on with the Army. All good. Appreciate them, other than when they play Navy. So two folks from this gathering sort of separated from everybody else and ended up standing legitimately right outside our window.
Yeah, it looked like it was a recruiter and
a potential recruit,
yes,
maybe.
yes.
Maybe that might be the case. They were right outside. And I don't want to, because they didn't ask to be on camera, so I don't want to turn the camera around to show everybody but they didn't need to be. There couldn't be more space.
And we're professionals. So it doesn't bother us.
Yeah, we're good, although we both kind of looked over like, what is going on? Now, I acknowledge that that's where the shade is.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's so hot that it
the shade also goes all the way.
Yeah, they specifically picked right outside of our window. Now, at no point were they like waving or trying to get our attention or anything like that.
It does say it's like 80 degrees out right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
all right, maybe it really is just about the shade. Maybe that's the case. All right, my fault. Why am I wearing a hoodie? This is what happens once it's hoodie weather. I'm not checking the weather the next day. Yes,
last week.
Fact. So John Colson, most worshipful Grandmaster here at Pressbox, he walks in and he sees the same thing that we see. He's like, what's the deal with all that? Like, what's going on there? And I kind of shrug my shoulders. We're in the middle of talking to Charles McDonald. We got bigger fish to fry. Like, it's fine. Nothing's hurting anybody. I don't know, but all's good here. And then all of a sudden I turn and I look, and John has walked out, has joined the conversation, and has brought like some plaque or trophy that he either had or maybe was. I'm starting to wonder if it was accidentally delivered to us and it was meant to be for the Army, and so he was trying to take it to them, and he didn't know who to give it to, so he was.
It was a great opportunity.
I don't know, because it looked weirder than that. It looked like he was. It looked like a Tim Robinson sketch, honestly. Hey, you guys want to see my trophy? Like, it just looked like
they were both like, wow.
Yeah, right? Like, it looked like he had just walked out and struck up a conversation and was like, I bet you guys didn't know that we won the very prestigious 2 Diamonds Award. Like, what is the 2 Diamonds Award? And then he started a conversation where he was like telling people about the 2 Diamonds Award. Well, it's for the speed at which we respond to customer service. And like, I was just trying to figure out what was going on. Everything up until then was fine. That moment left me very concerned. What is happening here?
Well, the kid, I guess I don't want to say kid, but yeah, the recruit is, we
don't know that he's a recruit.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You got to be.
The other party is now he's still standing here because she hasn't returned.
Well, no,
John.
she did come.
Yeah, she did. Now she went. She's not here anymore.
Oh,
he's just
gone.
here, like kind of looking, and he's like, I don't know what John did.
Do you think that Colson? Do you think he's going to quit the Army now because of Colson? What is the chance that we just set upon?
He's heading towards the parking lot.
This is a butterfly effect type of situation. What if that was the man that was going to win us the next World War?
He was going to win us the war.
And John Colson, because he wanted to show this lady his 2 Diamonds Award, just doomed our nation, and now we're all going to be communist in the next 30 years. Have you thought about
that
the
much worse
possibility?
than where we're at?
Well, I mean, it's a yes, but it's a fair question. Yes, it is. Let's be honest. But I get it. I do get that things ain't great. Like, I understand why it is that you're asking the question. Although, have you heard about Arnold Palmer's penis? Because
Who hasn't? Just
I was making some jokes. I was doing some wackies last night on Twitter, and some of our media friends were like, "Whoa, dude!"
He hopped in a van, and the van is pulling away.
The potential recruit.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what it is, but yes.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how much of this is John Colson's fault. Gonna have to get to the bottom of that at some point. Anyway, so the moral of the story being, last night I made it. One joke was, this defense has more communication issues than my marriage, which again, one, let's be fair, every marriage has communication issues. That's not unique.
I thought you figured it out.
Yeah. Let me be clear. If I said, dude, I'm just kidding, I'd be a liar. Because, like, every other marriage on the planet, we got a lot of communication issues in ours. But you make it work. That's how marriage goes. Like, that's the way it is. There's no marriage or, like, we couldn't communicate any better. Nonsense. Lots of communication
Go watch Mr. and
problems.
Mrs. Smith. You know.
But our friend Jacob Kalbenmeyer from The Sun sent out a GIF like,
You say GIF.
Glenn's wife right now, and it was that. And that was funny, and I had a good time with that. And then our friend Calgoon from the Banner, later on in the night, I made that sandpaper joke. I was like, hey, look, man, there was a time when watching the Baltimore Ravens offensively was as pleasant as taking sandpaper to your genitals. And Calgoon from the Banner was like, I think you might be oversharing tonight. And I said, I'm not even yet qualified to run for president. Like, I'm not even there. This is a website where the last 3 days have been about Arnold Palmer's penis. Like, I'm pretty sure I haven't gone down that road yet. Although, maybe that's our next move. Maybe that's next. Hey, get in here. Get over here. Get over here. I want to know what just happened here, because I just need you to understand. What I saw, and I don't know this, but what I saw was there was a prolonged conversation going on. Potentially, now don't correct me, just let me lay out my theory, potentially between a recruiter and a recruitee. It was going on for some time. And then all of a sudden, I saw you walk out like,
with a box.
Hey, you guys, you want to check out my 2 Diamonds award? I'm very proud of it. And then they were interested, but then she walked away, and he, I think, might have just quit the Army. You might be the reason why we all become communists in the next couple of decades, because that might have been the guy that could have saved us. And
basically, he was Rambo, and I talked him out of the Army.
By distracting him from that conversation, you might have ruined the future of this country.
Actually,
just to show her your 2 Diamonds award.
You're right on.
Okay. And I nailed it. Our theory was right on.
Oh, you were right on.
I got it. It came off.
Do you want me to explain it as quickly as I can or not?
Quickly.
I'll try. If it goes to. So, we used to do a whole lot of stuff with the U.S. Army, and we used to give these awards called the U.S. Army Impact Player of the Month.
I enjoyed our relationship with them.
They changed their marketing people about 3 years or 2.5 years ago, and they just stopped calling us, wouldn't talk to us, and it was dead. I see these people hanging outside of my window for the last 45 minutes?
Yes.
Chatting away. By the way, he was a recruiter, not a recruit. So that was good. If it were a recruit, I wouldn't have interrupted.
Damn.
So I saw that this woman had.
What you're saying is our country is safe.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But this
relatively
this woman
speaking.
had commander stripes on. So I was like, that's the person in charge.
That's an important person.
So I rolled out there with the old award.
Did they still hate us from the one drinking show?
But
in fairness, this might make up for it.
I was just in their office.
Yeah.
And that did come up.
I figured it might.
But it's a different group of people, so it was lore to them that was kind of funny.
Okay.
They were like, "Oh, you all do some sports show over there," and apparently some stuff happened. They were laughing about it.
Well.
And yes,
I would say I remember, but that would be mostly a lie.
Yeah, that's the time you fell asleep on the couch outside of the
for like 6 hours, and then was still puking at the Cheesecake Factory that night.
Yes, you had to go to the Cheesecake Cheesecake Factory with your wife and kids
Yes,
or something.
That's a fact.
So-
And they followed me in. The
We've all been there
bathroom
at the Cheesecake
and crawled
Factory.
underneath. I went into a stall to continue puking, and my kids crawled underneath so they could watch me puke.
Not sure how hygienic that is.
Not remotely.
So anyway, this lady was like, "Why don't we do this anymore?" And she took me in to meet her commanding officer, and now I have an appointment on Monday.
That is wonderful news. That is wonderful news. That is almost now. We don't have to root for them against Navy, though, right?
No,
like we can
no,
still.
no,
okay, all right.
no.
Just wanna make sure.
Maybe if they start spending again, but not now. No, I can never root for Army against Navy, frankly. I just can't do it.
I'm not doing. I was gonna say you.
I'm
can
a
do
big
that,
Air Force guy.
Glenn Clark.
No, I'm kidding.
Plus, it's not like it's Army West Point right there. That's
That's a
you
great
know,
point.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just an Army office. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
exactly.
Yeah, that's the main recruiting battalion right at my back. It's been driving me crazy for 2.5
I've had a good
years.
relationship with the Army. They got. I was doing flutter kicks for them.
I know
I've done
that.
the whole thing.
I recall.
I have been a good soldier, if you will.
Yes,
Not
yes.
a soldier at all. I don't.
Yep.
Look, man.
How old are you?
Yeah, too old.
No. How old are you?
No, I'm 41.
You have 2 years left to sign up.
No, I don't. I know too much about this
43.
topic. Nope. 35. 35. But you know what? It was 39 for the Air Force. I don't think I've actually
I think for the Army Reserves,
Nope.
it's 43.
Nope. I don't think I've talked about this publicly.
You considered it.
I absolutely tried to join, in fact, the Air Force Reserves 2 years ago. This is a thing, not 2 years ago, 4 years ago, I guess it was. This is a thing that happened. John. Straight shoot. Straight shoot.
To do what?
PR.
Fly plane.
Oh,
PR.
okay.
Yeah.
That
PR.
I get.
PR.
What happened?
There was a couple reasons. Look, first of all, I'll be honest. I had a moment where I was like, I should have done this as a kid.
Yep.
This is something I should have done.
Yep.
It would have been good for me
Yep.
to have served. So I had that kind of moment unfold for me where, like, I should have done this when I was younger. I didn't. I think I've talked about the fact that I'm taking classes again. I'm planning to work towards my MBA. So I said, I could pay for that, or the taxpayers could pay for that. I don't think I'd mind if the taxpayers paid for that.
Exactly.
And I thought there would be benefits that would come. Basically, I had been reached out to. The Army had reached out to me about PR specifically. And then found out that I was over 35 and said, sorry, it's not an option. But then they suggested that I consider the Air Force. And I said, all right. My wife hated it. She was ready to divorce me.
I was going to ask you to sit on my couch for a moment here as I analyze you. You did this immediately after having children while married, knowing that you would have to go away. And
it was for 10 days or whatever it
until
was.
they deploy you to do PR in the Middle East.
And I would be willing to do that.
That's my point.
I think it's a sacrifice that a lot of people should be willing to make, and I have regret.
How about a 28-year-old that's not married?
I agree with that. I know it wasn't the right plan, but it was something that I had a significant amount of personal regret that I hadn't done.
Right.
I should have done it. And look, some of that was my grandfather passed away, and I eulogized him.
I
and
get all that.
My grandfather was a Navy pilot, and it really hit me hard.
I get all that.
I should have done this. I screwed up. That should have been part of my life. So, yes, there was a lot going on in this moment. So I did. I reached out to the Air Force. I attempted to enlist, and they said I was not welcome because of my medical history. I have a vasovagal syncope. Remember, I had
well, this is a lot.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I know. I'm really opening up now. All this because of the silly scene that happened outside the window. I was never going to talk about.
Did you like my 2 Diamond Award?
I did. It was beautiful. I swear to God, John, it looked like you just coming out.
Would they
say,
like to see? Would the
you
people
guys,
like to see it?
Like you wanted somebody to see your award, and you're like, "Hey, you guys,
look what I got."
That's what it looked like from here. It was the weirdest thing, man. Hey, can I tell you guys about my 2
It's
Diamond
a beautiful
award?
trophy.
We got it for customer service.
It's a beautiful trophy.
It looked like a beautiful trophy, but it was just so weird watching it unfold in front of my eyes.
Well, they were being weird, so I figured I'd be weird back. It might have worked.
And if we just got a client out
We'll
of it,
see.
wonderful.
Okay.
I'll be. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was fun for me. I don't know if it was fun for everybody else. And then I ended up You know what? Calgoon is right. I overshared. Way too much sharing. Way too much. We come back in. I don't know what we do now. What the hell just happened?
Continue.
We come back in. We will get you ready for Waiver-Wire Wednesday. That is a beautiful 2 Diamonds award. Look at that. Wow. You never watched. There was a movie a few years back. Oh God.
Hold on.
There was a movie called Cedar Rapids. That was.
Wow.
Yeah. So God This movie was, I'm trying to remember who all was in it. It was, Ed Helms? Yeah, John C. Reilly, Sigourney Weaver, Anne Heche, and Senator Clay Davis, Isaiah Whitlock.
Wow.
Doing a Senator Clay Davis impression.
Do I need to add this to the list?
No, it's not anything like these other movies. This was like a kitschy, it was on late night on HBO, and so I was watching it, and it was way better than it had any business being. It was a really good movie. And it's all, the premise of all of this is that like you have to pay off a guy in order to get a diamond award for your company, and that's what I was thinking about with John Coulson and his diamonds. So that's Glenn Clark. You just got a real trip into my brain, man. Like, welcome to my journey. I don't know what you just learned from any of
Thanks
it,
for sharing.
but welcome to it. Come back in. Get you ready for Waiver-Wire Wednesday. Very different with our buddy Joe Serpico next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas's 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Brooks Dubose profiles Maryland basketball forwards Derek Queen and Julian Reese as the Baltimore-built duo reunites in College Park with hopes of bringing the Terps back to prominence. Also inside, meet college basketball players from all of the area's D1 programs. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores, where you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program following a Ravens win last night. Today's show also brought to you by County Sports Zone. Everything you need to know about high school sports, not just football, soccer, field hockey. When we get into winter sports season, everything. They've got scores, schedules, polls, news, all of it for private schools, public schools, every program across the state. You can find it all at countysports.zone, countysports.zone. So last night Ryan Chell was asking, he said, I want to trade Kareem Hunt. I'm looking for a wide receiver. And I offered him Keenan Allen. And he rejected it, and then he responded by, I guess I should pose this to Joe in a second. He responded by trying to get Cooper Kupp for Cortland Sutton and Kareem Hunt. I don't, like, no, right? Like, no.
He wants Cooper Kupp.
He wants Kupp for Sutton and Hunt. Yeah.
I don't think
Like, if I had no running backs, like, I guess I'd lose. But Kareem Hunt, I was going to trade for Kareem Hunt, not even to start him this week. I've got Aaron Jones and Kenneth Walker as my starting running backs. I don't think so. I don't think that I would be interested in that. I'm trying to think of what I would be interested in, but I don't think it's that.
Keenan Allen seems pretty. Like, that seems relatively even.
That's what,
you know,
like,
yeah.
by the way,
I'm expecting to get with Kareem Hunt.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the IBM Watson trade analyzer made it seem like it was a dead even. And whenever you try to do a 2-for-1, thinking that makes it even, well, like, you have to take up 2 spots on your roster in order to get those points. So, no, it's not dead even. There's opportunity cost there. This is, like, that's the type of trade you make to someone you think is dumb. Like, oh, dude, it says the points are even.
Well, you know, then he is kind of.
Yeah, right. It says the points are even. Right, because you're giving – that's 2 players. I'm going to play another player, and that player that I would play would get me more points. Then it's just dumb. I'll let Joe Serpico remind me of that. Hey, Joe Serpico, Pressbox Fantasy Football Analyst, listen to this. Last night, somebody in one of my leagues said, "Hey, I need a wide receiver that could play. I'll trade you Kareem Hunt for him." And I said, "All right, well, I could do Keenan Allen for Kareem Hunt. Like, I don't need to make that trade, but I'd consider it, and it's fairly even." And then he responded back with instead Cortland Sutton and Kareem Hunt for Cooper Kupp. And I'm pretty sure that's about as quick of a no as I can possibly say, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, did we all see the same thing from Cortland Sutton this past week?
Right. He
where
scored
he put up
0.0 point.
We're not even just talking zeros. 0 targets, 0, you know. So I did actually put in my thing this week that I do expect Cortland Sutton to have a bounce back this week to finish as a wide receiver 2, but I'm not making that trade still.
Yeah, that's a big no for me, dog. Not going to happen. But again, Ryan, if you're listening, I will revisit the Keenan Allen for Kareem Hunt, which is pretty even. If you go back and look at all the numbers, I would be willing to revisit that if you really need a wide receiver. Otherwise, I wasn't even going to start Kareem Hunt. So I don't need to make that trade. Let me make that abundantly clear. Now, let's get to the stuff that matters. Unfortunately, last night, Chris Godwin gets hurt, combined with the uncertainty of Mike Evans. How valuable is Jalen McMillan now on the waiver wire this week?
Well, he instantly becomes a waiver priority just because of the fact that with Evans also being out, and I mean, Godwin, the way that looked, I'm going to assume that he's done for the season. Worst case scenario, or best case scenario, he might be back for the playoffs. But as far as for fantasy purposes, I don't think we're going to see him again. But yeah, for Jalen McMillan becomes one of the top guys you want to add this week. Can we also mention that Baker Mayfield has been awesome this season? You know, he is one of those set it and forget it quarterbacks now. I never thought I would say that about Baker Mayfield.
Is that still the case
because
now?
That's the case. But yeah, because of the case that Baker, you know, is running such a terrific offense the way he has been, that's more reason for you to go out and get Jalen McMillan. Because I mean, yes, the kid's not he's no Mike Evans, but he's no Chris Godwin. I don't expect the volume in the pass game to slow down just because, you know, we kind of talked about. I mean, Rachaad White had a decent game last night, but the Buccaneers' running game for the past 2-3 years has kind of been lackluster. And I don't expect last night to be all of a sudden make it, you know, that's all going to change all of a sudden. So, yeah, get yourself some Jalen McMillan with those 2 guys out.
But about Baker, though, like, is Baker still that, like, desirable even without those guys being on the field potentially?
Yeah, I just think the way he's been distributing the ball around throughout, you know, I like maybe underrated as a tight end. I like what we've seen from Cade Otton as well. And all 3 of those running backs seem to make plays when they get the ball in their hands as receivers. They're not doing much as runners, but at least when they're catching the ball out of the backfield, they're doing very well. So I do think it's the case where the offense isn't going to change a whole lot. Yes, you know, you're going to have some shifting parts with the 2 big guys out, but I don't anticipate anything to really change. And I believe who they have up next is the Falcons. And we saw a couple weeks ago, you know, that's a team you can get in a kind of a shootout with. So I expect a lot of these points to still be scored even with those guys out.
Okay, so that said, for Godwin Evans owners and for people that don't own either one of them, where are you going fab-wise for McMillan this week?
I'm not going too crazy just because, because Evans will be back, so then when it's all said and done, Evans will be the top guy, and I just think this actually adds to his value with Godwin being out. So I still think if you're one of those guys in your true desperation mode that you need guys, let's say, $6, $7 to get them on your team, I'm not going more than 10% unless you're truly, truly desperate at receiver.
Okay, very good. Now, I bring up Baker Mayfield because I feel like quarterback is actually one of the more interesting topics this week. One is not really related to the waiver wire because I would assume that everybody gobbled Tua back up or never let him go in the first place. But is Tua a
in regards to the two receivers from the Dolphins, yes. I think anybody who's drafted those two guys, and I'm in the league right now where Waddle is available, and I'm going to be trying to get him with some significant fab, considering the fact that it's shorter benches than that, so that'll happen sometimes. But, yeah, it's one of those situations. I'm going to try to get him back with Tua's back. Now, in regards of is Tua an instant starter, I'm not willing to go that far. Now in super flex leagues, absolutely, but in your standard 12-team leagues, no, I am not. He was like fringe even before the injury. He was a fringe guy. In regards to who I'm going with, Tua or Goff, we already know that my Goff is my ride or die this year, so it's definitely Goff in that regards. But yeah, it is very, very pleasant if you are a Dolphins owner for all the positions. Even throw in Achane and Mostert, who haven't really done a whole lot since Tua has been out. So if you are a owner of any of the Dolphins guys, you are very happy that Tua is coming back in the lineup. But it's also one of those things. He's another hit away from being knocked out again too. So you are treading lightly with those guys as well.
What to make of Russell Wilson?
Oh, well, yeah, one game sample, but we knew that he was going to be the better passer. And let's face it, that's what we saw the other night. It was awesome for, let's say, anybody who had George Pickens and so kind of holding on to him. That's
or if
say
you're playing in a cockamamie league where you have to play two quarterbacks and you just happened to pick up Russell Wilson last week because your second quarterback had been Deshaun Watson. So it was awesome for that.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely. Now, the thing is, it's going to be one of those situations, okay, it's Russell. Could it be Russell for the next 3-4 weeks? And then, let's say Russell has 2 bad games, and we get back to the field talking, and they're juggling back and forth between these two all season long. That would be my only concern with either of those quarterbacks right now. But I also think in a super flex league like ours, I think they almost both need to be rostered because Fields was a top 12 option when he was healthy, which almost makes it crazy that, they benched him. But then you see why they did, because Russell Wilson got the pass game going the way that they did. And with Wilson being in the lineup, it also seemed like the running game opened up for Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris too. So I do think Wilson will be there for a while. He's still, let's say, in your 15 to 20 range for your standard 12-team leagues, but yeah, Superflex leagues, he's a must-have.
And I can't believe I'm going to bring up the situation in Cleveland. Obviously, there's no value for Dorial Thompson-Robinson or Jameis Winston, again, unless you're in like the somebody has to play situation that we would be in one of those Superflex leagues. But I don't know, Cedric Tillman looked like a thing on Sunday. Do we talk about Cedric Tillman a little bit?
Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to get brought up, and I saw a lot of the other fantasy people were, adding them to their waiver wire list. I'm not even putting in a claim for him, even if he's available on Thursday or whatnot. He's one of those guys that one game sample size, yes, of course, he gets this huge increase in targets just because of the Amari Cooper trade. But I just think that it was a, one game fluke. We see those come here or there. Cedric Tillman's not a guy that we had any anticipation of this being his kind of role ever at this point this season. So just a guy coming out of nowhere having a game like that doesn't change anything for me.
He is Pressbox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico. He is with us here on GCR as we get ready for Waiver-Wire Wednesday. Not a great week if you're looking for running back help. It seems like it's just basically back to handcuffs this week.
Yeah, actually, the note I made in the piece I left or put out today is it's actually been, other than people who drafted Christian McCaffrey, and then you've had a couple injuries here and there, but it's been relatively healthy for running backs this year. So yeah, it's been mostly handcuffs that I've been putting in the article this week. The only major changes, and if you're truly late to the party, Alexander Madison has definitely taken over as the starting running back in Vegas. So if he's somehow available, scoop him up, put him in. He has been RB2 or better in 4 games, and has had 21 touches or more in the past 3 games. So he's definitely the volume king in Las Vegas. They might not score a whole bunch of points, but volume is king in fantasy, and Madison does it in both the ground game and the receiving game. So he's not going to get you huge value, but he's definitely somebody you can put at a flex each week.
With the Ayuk injury, should we be more aggressive in trying to get Ricky Pearsall, or is he someone who's not so much on your radar right now?
Like I noted, Pearsall is somebody that I'm going to target probably for just this week if you need a fill-in, just because of the uncertainty if Juwan Jennings will actually be back this week. And then we also have no idea what's going on with Deebo Samuel, considering he went to the hospital. But my play long-term is actually more Juwan Jennings. We saw him have that game earlier this season where he scored 41 points, and that was with Deebo out. So now you just slide him in on the other side where Ayuk was, and hopefully, can't expect 41 points games, but hopefully he returns that value of wide receiver too. But yeah, even Pearsall is probably more. I have him probably at wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. If you need a guy for the upcoming bye weeks, which I want to touch on in a second. He's definitely somebody to stash. But if you're looking for the more long-term play, for me, it's Juwan Jennings.
Interesting that the moment that Amari Cooper showed up, Keon Coleman has his first game in Buffalo. Is that worth sniffing around on, or too many mouths to feed for him to have any value?
I think it is a little bit of a help for Keon Coleman. I do think it is it's not so good for people who have Khalil Shakir, just because I think the way that things kind of shifted out with the receiver positions now, I do think that Coleman does get a little bit. I don't think there's as much attention being drawn to him now. That's obviously going to Cooper. Coleman, and that's the thing we got to kind of wait out to see. I do think that essentially that they're going to play the same position, that'd be Cooper and Coleman. So, and I do think what we talked about in the preseason, Coleman, we wanted to be this big red zone threat. I mean, we saw it this past weekend that Cooper all of a sudden could be that guy there. So Coleman, a guy that I might be stashing, but it's too early to even think about starting right now.
Oh, yeah, certainly not thinking about that. And then the situation with Jaden Daniels in D.C., I would assume you probably have better, again, unless you're in that super flex league where, but if Jaden Daniels were to not play on Sunday, I would think that there are better options that are going to be available than Marcus Mariota, even though he did look really good, obviously, this week.
Well, let me tell you what is it really a mistake? We'll see. I won this week, so I can't. So I decided in another league that I have Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, and I started Jaden Daniels over Lamar.
Oof.
And hindsight, it doesn't look good, obviously, because Lamar had the terrific game last night. But my thinking was, they were going against Carolina and they were going to destroy him. Well, if Mariota could put up those points against Carolina, let's just say whatever quarterback is going against the Panthers, you can probably start them for the rest of the season. But no, in regards to Mariota, not a guy I'm even considering, even with Daniels out. I would much rather start James Winston at this point. We've seen him. At least he's willing to chuck it down the field. Mariota still reminds me of the guy from many years ago that was more of a check down king.
I agree with you, but I still have to put a claim in for him in our stupid league because if somehow he doesn't play my options, actually, Winston is out there, although somebody might pick him up. I don't know. I have to put in a claim for Mariota.
I know a certain somebody that's going to be putting a claim in for that guy.
There you go, right? So that might not be. Then my other option is Will Levis, and no. I'll say it again if you'd like. I can say it in Spanish. Would you like me to do that?
Okay.
No.
I guess I get it.
Yeah, that's the way that's going to go. All right.
How hard should you be going after Cade Otton, you think, Joe? If it was between Trey Palmer and Cade Otton.
Yeah, say the last part again.
So in one of my leagues, Jalen McMillan is already owned. Would you go Trey Palmer and Cade Otton are in the same level, or do you lean more towards Otton?
I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Otton just because of the scarcity of tight ends. Tight ends just been so bad this year. Actually, I made the note that I like Zach Ertz and Hunter Henry as guys they're getting overlooked. Ertz is tight end 10, Henry's tight end 7. And then I see guys like Dalton Schultz, who's tight end 29, and I'm not saying to drop Sam Laporta, but he's tight end 20, and they're still consistently getting started. It's time to look at the numbers, look at tight ends that are getting 5, 6, 7 targets a game and start playing those guys. I think we've gotten to the stage where too many people are playing the name game at tight end. Start looking at the numbers there.
So you're saying play Jonnu Smith at tight end is what you're saying. That's your argument?
Yeah, he's put those past 2 weeks up, but I think now that's a little bit different because I think that whole situation is going to change
with
now
a different
with
quarterback. Yeah, I do.
Tua back there. Tua doesn't like the tight end. We've kind of seen that the past couple of years, as opposed to when you're running for your life, like these quarterbacks have been the past couple of weeks. It looks like they're just looking for Johnny right over the middle for them.
All right. Anything else on your mind as we get to Waiver-Wire Wednesday?
Yeah, so like I kind of alluded to before, we've had 10 teams on a bye so far, but that means the remaining 22 teams have a bye in the next, let's say, the next 6 weeks. And the week that I think most people you need to start thinking about now, even though it's still a few weeks away, is week 14. That is such a crucial week for many people if you're like on the cusp of potentially making the playoffs or not. There's a lot of big names that are playing that week. Lamar is one of them. Jaden Daniels is one of them. So it might be something to consider where if you know you're in the playoffs, you can kind of keep those guys around. But if you're in a situation where you need to like win games in week 14, it might be beneficial to start. I'm not saying trade Lamar. Don't do that. But, some of those guys, let's say it's Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews, guys like that who might not be available for you in that week when you need wins that week. Start thinking about those kind of things because it's going to creep up on you quicker than you know, and then week 12 is almost the same situation, but I just think that week 14 is just going to be do or die for a lot of teams, so it's just something to start planning ahead for now.
All right, he is Joe Serpico. At Joe Serp on Twitter is how you follow him, and PressBoxOnline.com is where you see all of his stuff. Joe, appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
Absolutely, guys. Good luck out there.
Thank you, pal. It's Joe Serpico. Joins us every Tuesday. He's brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. All of our fantasy content at PressBox is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, where
you can get $7 in free slot play if you are out if every time that Baltimore or Washington scores a touchdown during their home games this season. Live Rewards members will get $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted into the slot machine and be actively playing any slot machine on the floor and be playing. And once
it's a headphone thing.
Okay, there we go. And once that touchdown scores, you get $7.
See my two diamonds.
And once you get $7 in free slot play after those touchdowns score for Baltimore or Washington during home games at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And I know this is about to be one of the stranger sentences I've said. It would have been less weird if he walked outside and said, "Have you guys heard about Arnold Palmer's penis?" Because that's like a relevant topic at the moment.
That's what he was showing them.
That's a conversation starter, right? Like, hey guys, so Arnold Palmer's penis, huh? Like, that's like asking about the weather these days. But he was out there showing him his two diamonds. I was confused, and then somehow it ended up me talking about trying to join the military. Yeah. Very weird morning here on GCR. Pretty normal.
That makes sense.
Pretty normal morning.
Pretty simple A to B to C.
Let's go ahead and do Pats on the Ass. Pats on the Ass. You know how it works. Somebody's getting a $50 gift card to the Costas Inn just for participating. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is send me a list of 5 names. It's not hard.
Well, that'd be
specific. Yeah, they
Ravens.
have to be Ravens players and or a coach. You got to take and your list does need to qualify. So of your 5 names, 2 of them must be offensive players, 2 of them must be defensive players. The 5th can be whatever you want.
But they're allowed to be wrong, is what you're saying. So
you're allowed to be
Marcus
wrong.
Williams.
Yes, you're still qualified to win.
And Darius Washington.
Yeah.
And those.
The internet can dunk on you, but you could still say, "Go ahead and dunk on me. I'm going to be enjoying some barbecue shrimp over at the Costas Inn." You go right ahead and dunk on me, internet. You can do that all you want. It couldn't be more simplistic. It's really one of the easiest things that we do, and yet for some reason people seem to struggle with it. I don't know why that is. So get me your responses at Glenn Clark Radio. All you got to do, one of you who responds will be $50 richer in Costas Inn gift cards. So get on it ASAP and participate in not in Would You Rather. They're telling you Monday Night Football screws everything up, man. Pats on the ass. Number 5 for me this week. It was difficult for me to choose a second defensive player. A lot of arguments for Roquan Smith, and I get it. He was active, but there were also still issues with Roquan Smith, so it was hard for me to put him on the list. I saw a couple arguments for Nate Wiggins, who was in the area, but again, kind of wasn't making the play. I ultimately went with defaulted to Kyle Hamilton as my second defensive player, just because he's the steady. He's doing what he does, and so it's it really is becoming like a safety blanket for me when we do pats on the ass. That like, Kyle Hamilton looked like Kyle Hamilton. He's my number 5.
Yeah, he's my number 5.
By the way, are we
as well.
keeping track of the season?
Yeah, I was. I don't know if I'm caught up.
Okay,
Maybe,
all right,
potentially
all right.
I didn't forgot
we'll
last
work
week.
on that.
Hold on.
We'll work
Yeah,
on it. We don't need to do it right now.
I went with Kyle Hamilton as well. No one else, really stuck out besides the other guy I have on this list. And he's the one guy. I mean, they played almost 100 freaking plays on defense. And, he seems to be the guy that is locked in every single play. Like, he's always going 100 miles an hour. And it's not, he perfected the new age kind of hit stick as well, which is good to see. He's got at least 1 or 2 of those every single week now. So, yeah, I mean, Kyle Hamilton is just, easy number 5 to easily slot on this list, especially while the defense hasn't been playing at a great level the last few weeks.
4 is where I put Derrick Henry, and this one was very difficult because it's where I wanted to put Ronnie Stanley. But I left Derrick Henry off the list last week. I couldn't do it again. He can't keep producing like this and me not put him on the list. I know Ronnie Stanley committed the 1 penalty, but otherwise he was
Everyone
great.
did too.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. But yeah, Derrick Henry, number 4. I don't think I need to say anything else.
Derrick Henry, obviously, I mentioned it. Not on my list this week. I put Bateman as my number 4.
He's higher on my list.
Bateman was my number 4 this week, and just the best
he's number 3 on my
career,
list. And I thought about making him number 2, but he's number 3 on my list. He was outstanding.
Yes. Number 3 on my list was Marlon Humphrey. What, he was higher? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Trying
to figure out who your number 2
the
is.
2 biggest plays defensively while the game was still in balance in the first
I
half.
guess
Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, he's number 2 on my list. They desperately, really, the first one in particular, they desperately needed that.
I mean,
that was the most important play. If we did, maybe we'll bring back 5 plays that told the story. I used to love that segment. It was my favorite thing, and we fought about it and yelled about it because Ryan Shell would put like a 1-yard touchdown run on the list. Like, well, it was the play they went ahead on. Like, yes, I'm sure the 1-yard touchdown run is the
both Marlon interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, the first one would be the 1, right? Like, I think
you throw the missed field goal in there.
I
from
think
Tampa?
the 2 big plays. No, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like, no, I think the 2 big plays. The 2 big plays to Bateman would be probably 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first big one would be number 2, and the second big one, which seemed to kind of like by that point, the game you could argue was already in hand.
The touchdown one?
Yeah, that one I would argue.
That made it 27?
Yeah, I think that one kind of iced it.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my number 3. Like if I top of my head, first Marlon interception, first big play to Bateman would be 1, 2. Probably the second big play to Bateman would be 3. And then it does get interesting, right? Like, I'd have to go back and think. But the 4th and 3, by that point, again, you really do think the game was out of hand. I have to go back.
Yeah, and then you'd make it the 80-yard
I'd have to go back and
run.
revisit. Was there a big 3rd down conversion that I'm forgetting about? Was there a big play that occurred on 3rd down or a big, they didn't really get any 3rd down stops. They just got the 2 picks.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe Oweh getting held.
They did take a touchdown off the.
Because then
no, because the rule for that was always like if it was a penalty, you don't consider what would have happened on that play. It's just the value of the penalty. Like I get the argument would be because it backed them up and made it
was a field goal. That's
3rd and goal really difficult.
Yeah.
But I get it. But it wouldn't be. You can't make the argument because it took a touchdown off the board because what you're saying, the touchdown doesn't happen if there's not a penalty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the penalty is.
Yeah.
That was always the rule for 5 plays. I don't know. Maybe we'll bring it back. I did like that segment. I really did. I don't know why we got rid of it.
Do you have to consider
because we were doing 3-hour-long shows? Probably is why we got rid of it. Because we had to talk about the 2 diamonds today. We couldn't miss that part of the program.
So you negate all the stuff that like once it was 41-18 or whatever.
Yeah, like the long Derrick Henry. Oh no, because that doesn't tell the story.
Okay.
That's the opposite of it. Like
just because we still have
the
been talking
story
about
of the win. Like
okay.
What goes wrong does not tell the story of a win. Like they won the game. What 5 plays told the story of how they won the game? That was the concept of the segment.
Gotcha.
So no, and so somebody would argue that like the huge Derrick Henry run, but the game was pretty out of hand at that point. It was a big play, but the game was. Maybe it could be in the argument for 4 or 5, maybe, but I just have to go back and look over. I'm sure there was like a 3rd down play when the game was still at stake. I'm sure there was a third down play that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head.
Like, how many third downs did they even?
Yeah, they weren't a lot. You're right. Not defensively for sure.
They
but
were
I think
3 for 8 on third down.
Oh, right, there weren't a lot.
Yeah,
there were not
and
a
1
lot.
for 1 on fourth.
All right, we're not doing this segment. We're doing a different segment.
Okay.
Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Ronnie Stanley.
Next week we'll bring it back. All right.
All right.
Next Tuesday we'll do 5 plays.
Okay. So I just got to be prepared to fight, or what's the?
If you do something stupid. If you put a
well,
one,
I mean, you mean when you do something.
If we put a 1-yard touchdown run on 2nd and goal or something like that, then yeah, I'm probably going to beat you up about it.
So the next gen stat.
Waiting to find out what you're doing here at number 2 to see if I'm going to beat you up for this.
Stanley did not allow a single pressure on 26 pass blocking snaps against the Bucs, who were blitzing. I mean, it felt like every other snap, if not every play. And he has not allowed. This is from Next Gen Stats. Hasn't allowed a sack this season on 224 pass blocking snaps. Only left tackle with 50 pass blocking snaps and 0 sacks allowed, and he's at 224.
He's your number 2.
He's my number 2. I mean, and
I think 2 is aggressive, but I get it. I get it. I'm not going to beat you up about it because Ronnie Stanley was great.
Yeah, he was. It's been a really great season for him. I mean, it's been crazy. And last night he was again and very impressive. And bouncing off. He bounced the Henry 80-yard run. He bounced right off of Stanley going off that left side. So yeah, Stanley is my number 2.
And obviously, of course, number 1 is Jordan Stout because he pulled down that high snap. It was not a good snap. It wasn't. Like, go back and watch it. It was not a good snap, and he got it down. He got it in play, and then you get a 50-yard kick. So all's good in the world. Look, man, Lamar Jackson's doing. He's not human. Lamar Jackson, number 1 until further notice. And look, I could have made an argument for Todd Monken this week.
Yeah,
I could have made an argument. They really aren't. Like, again, Ronnie Stanley
Justice Hill had a good game.
He had a good game, but not over any of these other. Ronnie Stanley was the one guy that I felt bad leaving off this list, and if I hadn't left Derrick Henry off the list last week, I would have put Ronnie Stanley I would have done that this week, but I left him off the list last week, so I couldn't do it again. Get me yours at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter.
Lamar's my number 1. Yeah.
No. And we will get somebody that $50 gift card to Costas Inn just for participating. Put it towards your seafood tower. I think it's Crab Tower that they call it. Sorry. The Crab Tower there. Oh, it looks so good. So good. CostasInn.com to find out more. Come back in, get a tidbit and 2-bit or wind things down for a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We'll be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on Pressbox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
The next Arthur Millette Show is Wednesday, October 23rd at the Gourmet inside the shops at Kenilworth. It's brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER and Easy Pass.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, winding down for a Tuesday edition of the program. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Arthur Millet's show at the Gourmet at the Shops at Kenilworth. Come hang out with us tomorrow night. Arthur Millet and a special guest, TBA. How about we go ahead and get a tidbit?
Trying to figure out. I mean, there because there was a lot of different milestones.
Randy Morgan sent me one from last night too. Actually, hang on a second. Hang on. I had.
I'll do this one real quick. There have been 3 games in NFL history where the quarterback threw 5 touchdown passes in fewer than 25 pass attempts, also while rushing for 50 yards.
Say that one more time.
3 games in NFL history, quarterback throwing for 5 touchdowns. Fewer than 25 passing attempts, and also rushing for 50 yards on the ground.
Oh, well, this is actually mine is so mine was from Ben Solak, who said there have been 7 games in NFL history in which a quarterback had 50+ rushing yards and 5 passing touchdowns. So these players are clearly on the other list.
I'll just do mine first because it was kind of a trick question.
Okay.
All 3 are Lamar
Jackson.
Yes.
All right. So then you can guess who the other ones are.
Lamar times 3.
Lamar times 3. That was the bit. Lamar has 3 of the 7 games. There are 4 other games, all from 4 different quarterbacks.
Oh, man. All right, so 50 yards rushing.
Yep, and 5 touchdown passes.
Steve Young.
Not Steve Young.
Michael Vick.
Not Michael Vick.
Did he ever throw 5? Probably not. Dang, I'm going to struggle here, I think. Y.A. Tittle.
No.
Jack Kemp, because he was on whatever
was not
we did
Jack
yesterday.
Kemp, no. They're all very modern.
Dante Culpepper.
Not more modern.
More modern.
Josh Allen, 100% is on the list. Josh Allen, it was in the 2021 wild card round, apparently, against the Patriots.
So this was right before
5 touchdowns and 66 yards on the ground.
It was right before they played the Ravens?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Josh Allen, Lamar 3 times.
Well, I don't know if that's the 2020. I would assume that's the 2021 season, so the 2022 playoffs is what I would guess, actually.
More modern, or so they're modern.
Yeah, they're all 2015 is the oldest.
So who did in Cam,
of course, 2015. The others were in 2019 and 2018.
Someone else also did this in 2019 with Lamar. Who would have done rush for 50 yards?
53 yards for the one in 2019, 53 yards and 5 touchdowns. The one in 2018, 53 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Man. Okay, so also watch your feet. There's a thumbtack on the ground. Just an FYI.
Thank you.
Whenever you get up.
Yeah. All right.
Just caught my eye.
Cool.
Darn, who would have been?
Come on.
Let's go.
Guess some quarterbacks.
It's not Jared Goff.
It's not Jared Goff.
Not
Matt Stafford.
Carson Wentz.
Not Carson Wentz.
Not going to be him. Let's go.
I would say these two guys maybe polar opposites.
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. In 2019 in the divisional round against the Texans. 5 touchdowns and 53 yards.
Jeez.
Polar opposite.
And this guy threw 6 touchdowns.
6 touchdowns, 53 rushing yards
he just
in 2018 against the Buccaneers.
Geno Smith.
Not Geno Smith. Worse.
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith's better than Geno Smith, arguably.
Worse than he threw 6 touchdowns.
Yes.
Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn, I don't think was still playing at this point.
He had that one game. I didn't think he threw 6 touchdowns.
Week 4 in 2018.
Oh man, where was I? I was under a rock, I guess.
I don't know. I have no memory of this.
My
man who changed his name, his first name.
Ron Artest?
No, changed his first name because there was a rhyme scheme that was problematic.
I'm gonna feel. I mean, I guess
he had gone in college by a shorter version of his name.
General Booty.
No, I don't think General ever played. As always, thank you for your service. But I don't think he ever played in the NFL. No.
Oh man, why did he change his name? He threw
changed
6
his
touchdowns.
name because he didn't want to be known as blank the blank.
Blank the blank.
Yeah.
Frank the Tank.
Rhyme scheme. Keep thinking of rhyme schemes. Maybe a more derogatory term.
Do I want to say it? That I don't think I want to.
I mean, it's not a word we can't say.
He did it against the Bucks.
Did it against the Bucks. Not a division opponent, but a conference opponent.
All right. Who were the 2018 quarterbacks?
Oh God, man, this is bad.
It wasn't Stafford. Wasn't Goff.
This is bad.
Wasn't Baker.
I said it was a conference opponent, so
okay.
It had to be somebody in the NFC.
Sorry, Baker's been on the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
makes me think. Not Aaron Rodgers.
Not Aaron Rodgers.
No,
he's very good.
Yeah, he's very good.
Well, he was. Yeah.
Jay Cutler.
Not Jay Cutler, but Jay Cutler also played for this team.
Oh,
yes.
Who the heck was the Bears quarterback in 2018?
He was a very high draft pick.
Oh, Mitch Trubisky.
Didn't want to be known as Mitch the bitch.
I don't remember anyone calling him
So he was
that,
Mitchell.
It was so mean.
Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky.
I didn't know. I didn't realize that was.
I don't know. I think that was
a big official story of him.
Might have been an
becoming
urban
Mitchell.
legend that's why it was, but he did very quickly go from Mitch Trubisky to Mitchell Trubisky. So there was a lot of thought that was the reason.
Good for him.
Can we do? Do you have anything else we can do quickly? Because
I mean, I guess I can. Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and save it like that. All right, quickly. Let's see what.
Quick.
All right. So, primetime best win percentage in primetime. They showed it on they showed the top 4 on the broadcast last night. At least 15 starts. Lamar's 18-5. He has a 783 win percentage.
It was Steve Young, right?
Yep, Steve Young.
I don't remember.
Number 2.
Was it Aaron Rodgers?
Not Aaron Rodgers.
God, I remember seeing this, and I remember seeing Steve Young at 2. Were they all Hall of Famers?
Yeah, they were.
And Roethlisberger's not in yet, so it's not Roethlisberger. Favre.
Not Favre.
Marino.
No.
Manning. Brady. Elway. Kelly. Aikman. Montana.
There you go. Joe Montana's 4th.
Okay.
22-8.
And
this guy was 15-5-1.
Warner.
Not Warner.
Who else is a Hall of Famer that I'm not thinking of? Turkentan.
No.
Roger the Dodger.
No.
Greasy.
No.
Terry Bradshaw.
No.
Joe Namath.
No. Started his career as a Spokane Shocker.
Y.A. Tittle.
No.
Jack Kemp.
No. He was an Oakland Raider.
Oh, Ken Stabler?
Ken Stabler, number 3 on the list. A 738 win percentage.
All right.
15-5-1.
Very good. Very good. Now let's get totally tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, I'm putting you in charge. We keep missing Proctor trying to get his guesses in. You're in charge of that moving forward. All right? I'm delegating that and getting this thing fixed behind me. Those are your areas. All right. He mentioned he's bummed. Even as a Chris Godwin owner, he was bummed, but he looks forward to when Chris Godwin is a Raven in 5 or so years. I think it's probably about 8 years still for Chris Godwin before he's a Raven. He's 26.
Oh, wow. He's that young?
right?
He is 28.
He's 28.
He's coming
Okay.
up on his
All right,
Ravens
never
years.
mind.
He's
Fine.
coming up on his
Yep,
Ravens
five or so years. That's right. 5 or so years before Chris Godwin's a Raven. All right, NBA season gets underway tonight, believe it or not. Knicks Celtics 7:30, followed by Timberwolves Lakers at 10 because
LeBron and then the Timberwolves
Bronny,
were good last year.
I get it, but the Mavericks won the West and the Lakers aren't good. I don't
cares about the Mavericks.
I don't really know what that. Klay Thompson maybe a game against the Warriors, that would have been a cool
That's got to be a Christmas Day game, right?
I don't know what the Christmas Day games are. Honestly, I have no idea.
New tidbit: Christmas Day.
Because it was Lakers Heat. That was the last time I remember what you could count on it being on Christmas was Lakers Heat because it was Shaq versus Kobe. I feel like it's just been like some teams. Here's a game they're playing in.
You want to guess?
Okay, for God's sakes. Well, the Knicks are involved with one.
Yeah, the Knicks are involved with the
Hang
12
on,
o'clock game.
There's 10 teams involved.
Yes.
One of them's the Knicks.
Yep.
One of them's the Celtics.
Yep. Not against each other.
Okay.
Celtics are in the 5 o'clock window.
The Nuggets are playing in one of these games?
They are. They're the late window, 10:30. On the road. I don't know if that helps you.
The Mavericks are playing in one of these
They
games?
are. They're the 2:30 window. They're at home, if that helps.
So I've gotten half of 4 of the games. The Timberwolves are in one of these games.
They are. Who are they playing?
They're playing one of the teams I've already named?
Yeah.
They're playing the Nuggets.
No.
They're playing the Mavs.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Playing the Mavs at 2:30.
All right. So next up, the Heat.
The Heat are not scheduled.
Oh. That's because it's the Pacers.
No.
It's because it's the Bucks.
No.
There's not. The Sixers. What am I doing?
Yeah.
The Sixers. They're playing the Knicks.
No.
They're playing the Celtics.
They are.
Okay.
At Boston.
Who the hell is playing the Knicks then? Who the hell else is
I'm up
there?
here all day, actually. I don't know.
This doesn't make any sense.
There's one game you haven't named either team.
Right. All right. Well, that's the Lakers.
Yeah.
And they're playing the Warriors.
They are.
Yeah.
Good job.
I mean, could kind of count on that.
So what, we have 3 teams left?
Yeah. No, 2. I'm missing whoever's playing the Knicks and whoever's playing the Nuggets.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, 2.
The Nuggets are playing the Spurs, the Wembanyama show.
The Spurs are playing, not the. They're not playing.
The Spurs are playing.
Yeah, the Spurs are playing the Knicks.
Knicks?
Yeah.
What?
Because Wemby
Sure.
in New York
I guess.
on Christmas Day.
That means the Nuggets are playing the Thunder.
No.
Really?
No.
I'm very surprised by that. That would be the most appealing. They're playing the Suns.
They are.
Yeah.
Nuggets are playing the Suns at 10:30.
Whatever.
Means you're staying up for that one, right?
Yeah, I probably will. Well, I don't know. The Ravens play at what time? They
Thunder
play
play the Pacers the next day.
Ravens play at 4. I want to say.
Yeah,
4:30
4:30.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So I would.
There's only 2.
Yeah,
NFL games.
there's and it's a 1 o'clock and a 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so NBA tonight. God bless. ESPN Caps Flyers at 6, Avalanche Kraken at 8:30, and Kings Golden Knights at 11. Big night of hockey. College football tonight. ESPN Sam Houston Florida International at 7:30. CBS Sports Network has UTEP and Louisiana Tech at 8. Before that, Champions League at 3. Aston Villa and Bologna. Apple TV for the MLS playoffs. Atlanta United CF Montreal at 7:30. Fox Sports 2, the U17 Women's World Cup, South Korea and the U.S. at 4 o'clock, and the CW for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Why did I just get alert that Tiafoe won, whoever he was playing?
I don't even know where they're playing this week. This is not a.
It's not a real.
No, this
like
isn't
the Gijón
like
Open or something.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I don't know who he played. Maybe it was somebody
I
significant.
played Cam Norrie.
Cam Norrie's a nice player. I mean, that's not a bad win. That's a good win. It's a good win. It's not like an earth-shattering win. I don't know why you got an alert about it.
Because I have my alerts on for him. It's the Vienna Open.
The Vienna Open.
Yes.
Sure.
Game 7, little anthology series on Prime Video is out. So it's just they just talk. It's EP. It's executive produced by Mark Messier.
But what's it about?
It's about Game 7s.
Just all Game 7s.
Yeah. Well, I think they're gonna dive into like some specific Game 7s. But yeah. So just guess whatever ones they wanted to. Whoever wanted to talk about them. Whoever was available to speak about.
Sure.
Them. But yeah. So that's on Prime Video.
They're not doing they're not featuring one per episode.
Yeah, I think that is
okay.
what they're
So
doing.
what is this one about?
I mean, I think like all the episodes. I didn't dive into the actual.
But I mean, like I'm not generically interested in Game 7, but if it's a compelling Game 7, I would watch. What's it on? It's on Prime Video.
Yeah, it's
you
on
said?
Prime Video. It's so 5-part video series, and I mean it's gonna be the Rangers. I guess one of them. Okay, so we got Dirk Nowitzki. But it's like so they're gonna do Game 7 of the 2016 World Series is one of them.
Which one was 2016?
That was the
the Cubs.
Cleveland,
Yeah, that was a really good Game 7.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Yankees Red Sox 03 ALCS, which everyone wants to relive.
Great. Aren't they doing a Netflix documentary about that at the same time? Yeah, no thanks.
They're doing that comes out I think tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about it. Yeah, the comeback, the 2004 Boston Red Sox. That's tomorrow on Netflix.
Apparently the 2006 Western Conference semifinals,
Yes.
Dallas
Yeah, with
versus
Dirk.
San Antonio.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that.
It was Dirk and Dirk and
87 Stanley Cup Final, Edmonton versus Philadelphia, and 94 Stanley Cup Final, Rangers Canucks.
Okay.
All right.
Good list, huh?
All right. Fair enough. I mean, those are certainly all Game 7s.
New episode of Aaron Hernandez on FX. New for the penultimate episode of this season of Only Murders. And, Senator John Fetterman will be on Colbert tonight.
And he is plugging Only Murders in the Building.
Oh,
now.
yes?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what
okay.
he's there to do.
Got it. I guess he'll
Got
be
it.
on one of the final
Really
two
excited
episodes
about
here.
the new episode.
Tom Holland's going to be on
They're all
Jimmy
wearing
Fallon.
hoodies. They're all walking around in hoodies and shorts.
Same reason. Same thing with Samuel Jackson. So maybe there is something Marvel coming up because I couldn't find what.
Did you
Tom
say Samuel
Holland-
Jackson and Tom Holland?
Well, Samuel Jackson was on last night, so
and
Holland's
Tom
on
Holland,
tonight.
yeah.
So I'm not sure what it is they're doing.
Again,
Liam Neeson.
they're promoting the election. It's just very.
They want to give away money to people that register to vote.
correct.
Liam Neeson's on Seth Meyers. He's in this movie called Absolution, where he plays a guy named Thug, and Thug is he's got a really sick mustache.
Oh, now,
and
now, wait a second.
And he takes care.
You didn't have me at Thug, but the mustache.
He takes care of his grandson one time, and they realize he's got to change his ways. And
okay,
he's gonna try and redeem himself.
This is Liam Neeson.
Yeah, Liam Neeson.
I feel
Ron
like,
Perlman's in it too.
I feel like I'm in.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest.
Ron Perlman.
Where is it? When can I?
When's the movie coming out? Oh, next Friday. Next Friday. Absolutely.
I will have forgotten by now.
All right. Well, maybe he'll keep making the rounds so I can mention him.
Does seem like something I would enjoy. That's it.
That is
very
it.
good. GlennClarkRadio.com, which works again. We like that. Thanks today to Charles McDonald. Thanks to Femi Ayanbadejo and to Joe Serpico. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Here we go.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. I thought you were gonna come up with something new.
What?
I thought you were gonna have something. I don't know, but work on it.
What,
all right, work on it. That and this and the other thing I told you to work on that I've already forgotten about. Oh, and you got to pull Femi's thing.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I told you to work on? That was your area.
Hang the thing.
There was something else that we just talked about.
Just tubular. Or
5
just,
minutes
or
ago
just
we
the,
had this. I don't remember what
just
it was.
the website archive.
That wasn't it. All right. Thanks to everybody. Tomorrow on the program, anything?
We're gonna catch up with.
Oh right, yeah. We're talking to some college football players
We are.
tomorrow. Deshaun Peel from Navy and
Levane Scruggs.
Right, Spalding alum.
Yes.
Who had a big pick for Maryland on Saturday against USC. Drew will be here for better or for worse stuff and things. Stuff and things. Thanks everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy. Did Crown Trophy make the Diamond Awards? Oh, he's not even there. He's gone to lunch. Or he wanted to show more people his trophy, I guess. They did. Crown Trophy made that beautiful 2 Diamond Award. It's a good one. Easy Pass, Royal Farms. Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Costa Sin, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go nobody. Duke sucks.